Greetings, one and all. Welcome to my free agency podcast. Yes, hello everyone. How are we today? Hopefully this one will work a lot better than the previous live stream I did at the draft weekend. But yeah, we are here, guys. So, hello, how are we? Free agency is starting any minute now. There's lots of calls about who might be signed where and what and all of that stuff. But for those of you who don't know, today is the day that the NHL Free Agency begins, where players who aren't contracted to a team for next season, they get to field their offers from other teams and sign with any team in the league that offers them a contract. The rosters for next season will begin to look a lot more complete after the next few days, especially after today, which is a very big day in the whole NHL off-season. There will be no fancy graphics or anything like that to watch on the screen this podcast. As it's a podcast, it's just talking, voiceover completely, nothing really else other than that. I'm not really sure how long it will last. It will last hopefully for a good few hours, but no idea in terms of how long exactly it will last. Basically, until everything dies down, really. But I would suggest, personally, that you stick some headphones into however you're watching this. Stick some headphones in. Maybe play a game in the background on mute. Maybe NHL 17 if that's your cup of tea. And just talk in the chat. We'll all have a good time. Let's just focus on having a good time, you know? Let's do it. I should also mention that I will be having a guest joining me very, very shortly. He also has a sports YouTube channel, and he seems to be doing very, very well for himself at the moment. So let's just bring on my mystery guest. Well, it's not a mystery guest, it's in the fucking chat, isn't it? So if I just do this, hopefully you should be able to hear him once he joins.
Hello.
And there he is! Hello!
Hello, how's it going? Hello, how's it going?
Not too bad. 5 Points Vids is here to join us to talk about some ice hockey stuff. Isn't that great, guys? So yeah, hey, you're 5 Points. How you doing, man?
Well. I'm doing very well.
Good. And I remember you saying that this is your first live stream.
We are popping the live stream cherry.
It's probably not the most exciting first live stream you've ever done, but it's the first one nonetheless.
You gotta find out somewhere, right? Or somewhere, right? Some wise man said that.
Why not? So, so free agency starting very, very shortly. It's actually kind of starting any minute now, because what's the time at the moment? It's 5 o'clock British time, so 12 p.m. Eastern. Yep, we're expecting anything to happen now.
Wait a minute. Now it's 5 o'clock, in the evening.
Evening. Yeah.
You're from the future.
Yeah, I am indeed. I am a man of the future.
How's this happening right now?
Yeah, England is 5 hours ahead of American time.
No shit.
Yeah, this is a crazy world we live in, eh?
Alright. Well, hey man, this is your show. You just let me know what you want to do, and I'll know what you want to do.
Sure. So, there's a lot of news that's been going over the last few days. I've been trying to write as many notes as I can, and I thought I'd bring 5 Points on here to just kind of give his opinion on it, really. Just kind of let me know what he thinks, because we're both New York Rangers fans, so I've picked a good one, don't worry. And there's been lots of stuff happening, lots of stuff indeed. I've also got a list of all of the top players in certain positions that are available, which are, looking down the list, it's really not that strong. The free agency pool isn't that strong. There's no real big names there. Is probably the craziest thing. The biggest name is probably Kevin Shattenkirk, but it's not exactly Sidney Crosby, is it? You know,
he's not exactly earth shattering as far as obviously his move to the Capitals didn't propel them to the next level. So what's he gonna do?
No, and of course he didn't want to re-sign with them either. So they're obviously. He's obviously more interested in finding a team he will win with.
Or get past the second round.
Oh, I love that. So, in terms of the latest news that's been like sort of the summer trade buzz as what NHL has been reporting on, it seems we're going back a few years in terms of the rosters. I'd really like to get your opinion on this, 5 points. So, Patrick Sharp, apparently, supposedly, once the stuff is announced, he is re-signing with the Blackhawks.
Wow.
Supposedly. Wow. He is re-signing a 1 year, $1 million contract, supposedly.
Wow, he's part of their retread projects, right? Didn't they bring Sod back?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, first they bring Sard back, now they bring Patrick Sharp back. Like, they really want to bring back that, like, 2015 Stanley Cup winning roster. So, and that's not the only one as well, because Patrick Sharp has re-signed. Also, Brandon Sard has re-signed. Who was the other one I was going to mention? Oh, fuck, I had it written down and everything. Where is it? Oh, shit. There's somebody else. I'm thinking of that has completely lost my mind.
I know exactly who you're thinking of, but I can't place it. Somebody else from
I know.
Won a championship with them, right?
No, it's not that. It's somebody else going back to their former team. Oh yeah, that's it. Jason Pominville in the trade. Because don't know if you're aware of this. The Minnesota Wild made a trade yesterday or 2 days ago with the Buffalo Sabres. Minnesota have sent away Marco Scandella and Jason Pominville to the Sabres in exchange for Tyler Ennis and Marcus Foligno.
Wow.
So Pominville decides to head back to Buffalo. A much older man than he was when he left. He is currently 34 years old. Had a relatively strong season this year with Minnesota, but the only problem is he's 34. You know.
Wow, I can't believe he's been in the league that long.
I know, like he's one of those names that is kind of he's always been there, but you never really realise how old he is. He's just kind of one of those like lower tier guys that you're like, oh yeah, he's a solid depth guy, yeah, all right. And then you realise, oh my god, he's 34.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't have much mileage left.
Exactly. And I mean, the fact he played on a relatively strong offensive team in the Minnesota Wild last year. So he did an alright job for himself. I mean, he managed to get traded back to Buffalo. But the only thing I'm thinking is, Buffalo, they must have really wanted Marco Scandella in order to take Jason Pominville and give away Ennis and Foligno. Because Foligno, he had the best point production he's had since coming into the league. He's 25, so he's kind of hitting that plateau at some point. But he's not past it, unlike Jason Pominville, who's most likely way past it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. I mean, it's definitely going to be a challenge for both of those organizations. I mean, really, with the NHL free agents, it's all going to be, these incremental moves that result in better roster chemistry, et cetera. And maybe these are the guys that can come in and help these teams out. But I don't know. So in some cases, I think whatever Buffalo does is just shuffling deck chairs until they get a blue line.
Yeah, fair point. I mean, also, getting Marco Scandella will hopefully help improve their blue line. But the only problem is, he was the only minus player on the entire Minnesota defensive core that were plus players.
Yeah, I just don't think that, if you want to keep Jack Eichel happy, bringing in guys like Marco Scandella are really going to move the needle on that one.
Yeah. I should also add, hello YouTube chat. Feel free to say anything. I'm looking at the chat all stream. So if you have any questions, anything like that from me or 5 points, or anything to do with free agency, do let us know. We'd love to hear what you guys think. Definitely go for it. We're just kind of talking and waiting for you guys to say anything to us or ask us anything. So feel free, by all means.
Ask me whatever. I'll answer.
Exactly. There you go.
You just ask whatever your
Also, in terms of trades, there was only one other sort of trade within the last few days. Of course, we had the ones nearer the draft, which, as the Rangers fans that we are, hang on a minute, what's going on there? But, so the Carolina Hurricanes traded Eddie Lack, Ryan Murphy, and a 2019 draft pick to the Calgary Flames for defensive prospect Keegan Kanzig and a 2019 pick as well. So what do you think about that?
I'm surprised that they got rid of Lack. You know, they were so quick to get rid of him since, you know, Carolina's goaltending seems to have goaltending issues. And even though Lack is not going to be, you know, set the world on fire, they clearly want to go in a different direction there. But, you know, Carolina, again, is a team that they got to do more with less, and these little minor deals are some things that can help them, you know, try to get more depth. But still, I see them with a lot of problems, and not only just winning games, but keeping their franchise in Carolina.
I think goaltending is. I think goaltending for the Flames is definitely an issue. I mean, I'll give them credit. Definitely, because they have completely changed their goaltending tandem for next season. Right. They realised that Brian Elliott and Chad Johnson weren't really working for their team. So they've now got themselves Eddie Lack and Mike Smith. So I'll give them that. Like, they're trying.
Well, I mean, but I guess they want some consistency there, and just, you know, being consistently average must be good enough for them. I mean, that's the thing that Brian Elliott did give you was, yeah, he could be terrible, but he could also play stellar, you know, stellar in net. But, you know, I don't think either of those guys have a deep run in them.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. I completely agree. I think it was very clear that the Calgary Flames, of course, were interested in Ben Bishop. They were very interested in Marc-Andre Fleury as well, I believe, especially towards the trade deadline. So I think it's interesting in the sense that they've completely changed their goaltending tandem and mixed it up. But I would say that obviously they know that their goaltending isn't as strong as it should be. So they've completely jacked up their defense up to the arsehole, in fairness. I mean, if you look at Calgary's defense now with acquiring Travis Hamonic, like, they are one of the best defensive cores in the league, I would say. And they've also re-signed Michael Stone to a 3-year contract, and he's quite an underrated guy. So I think that Calgary's defense are solid. I think their forwards are young, and they might need a little bit more experience behind them, but they are looking very promising, and there's a lot of future there. I think the goaltending is definitely the weak spot there, and it's a question of how far do they go in terms of the goaltending hunt over the next season, because of course they're wanting to re-sign guys like Sam Bennett and Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan and all those players, and they've got other players in the system that they really want to bring up. Is it a case of they finally have a goaltender within their system that can step up? At the moment, it doesn't look like it, hence why they've traded for both Mike Smith and Eddie Lack. And I mean, Eddie Lack has been one of those guys that in Vancouver he played relatively well, moved to Carolina, played rather atrociously, in fairness. He was not...
Carolina. Yeah. Sometimes
Fair point.
You got to look at a goaltender's work and wonder, you know, how good is he, or how left out in the cold is he getting?
And I think that feeds into the fact that Carolina's defense at the moment, very young, so much potential there, like a huge amount of potential, but very young.
Yeah.
So they need experience. They
too, like Hannafin, you know, like it's a slow process. It's true when you don't have time to develop defensemen and give them time, you just throw them into the NHL. If they're not ready, they definitely suffer from it.
Definitely, and that's why defensemen take so much longer to hit their peak or be NHL ready, because forwards you can give them a year or two, and most of the time, especially first rounders and second rounders, quite a lot of the time they're ready to go. However, with defensemen, you usually have to give them an extra year or two in order to make them properly NHL ready. Because what there seems to be a difference between NHL forwards being quote unquote ready in inverted commas, where they can come up, play a couple of games, maybe score their first NHL goal, then get sent back to the minors or junior for improvement, for conditioning, all that stuff. But with defensemen, once they're up there, the expectation is you play well every single night, or you're not going to be on this team anymore.
And just because of the nature of four offensive lines and then only 3 defensive pairings, there's no minutes to hide out there when you're a defenseman. I mean, it was pretty clear that when Dylan McElrath was out there for the Rangers, he was just a possession black hole, and that's what happens when someone's not ready. But when you get the case of someone who goes above the grade like Brady Shea, then
I know, what a lad.
But that's so rare that you get that level of development. And Carolina's not afforded that because they needed someone like Hannafin. They spent a first-round draft pick on him, and they needed him to go in right away. So that's why if you're not ready in any of those defensive minutes, you can get exposed very quickly. And he's not that player.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's just you're waiting for him to develop into the Brady Shea type player or what's that other kid, Strome or whoever he gets compared to, that type of player, and he's just not there yet.
Yeah, definitely. I also think the fact that Ryan Murphy, that was added into the trade, was yesterday also was placed on waivers to be bought out with his contract. So that was a very interesting development. As I think, of course, the question is why add a guy as a piece if you're just going to buy him out afterwards. But I think that has something to do with the fact that Carolina added... I think they retained $1.5 million of Lack's salary. It's something along those lines. There was some salary retention added there.
Yeah, when I did the research on the salary cap and how it works, it works 2 ways. There's a maximum cap and a minimum cap. And a lot of times these suffering teams like to take on bad deals on purpose.
Yeah, definitely.
So that it doesn't hurt their balance sheet as much as it hurt, to a fan, it can leave you scratching your head. Like, why would they absorb salary like that? But they also have, certain requirements and things that it's just not good to be in a team that cannot afford to at least get to the league average. And that's what is hurting the league too.
Yeah. I think it's always nice to have that extra money, definitely. And especially for rebuilding teams, being closer to the bottom of the salary cap ladder is always very helpful because they can absorb those contracts in order to get those better things. But just bringing it back to the whole free agency, the latest piece of news before I started up this stream was the fact that Jaromir Jagr is not re-signing with the Florida Panthers. So that's quite interesting in the sense that, of course, I don't know if you saw Jagr's whole thing on Twitter where he was joking about nobody had called him in terms of offering him a contract. I love Jaromir Jagr. He's just
going to get, signed before Jagr. He must be just, I don't know. I think he's going to get signed. It's just, I think he's being facetious.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is without a doubt that Jaromir Jagr is going to get signed by an NHL team. It is just a question of which one and which one wants to take him. Because, I think he's either 45 or is turning 45 this year. The thing is with him, he's 45, but he's also a 45-point scorer roughly this year. So it's clear that he's not done yet. And I don't think anybody wants him to be done yet. So is it a case of he re-signs with Pittsburgh? Or does he go to a team that he hasn't played for yet? He's played for, I think, I read it up saying 8 teams in his 23-year NHL career. So he's been around the block a little bit. Like he exactly, yeah. He went and played 4 years in the KHL as well. So he's been around the block a bit. He's played with a lot of teams. It is just a question of either which team does he want to play with or which team wants to give him a contract. Of course, it's not going to be ball-busting millions of dollars. It's going to be a relatively decent contract. It will have a noticeable salary number to it, but of course it'll only usually be a 1-year deal, which is fair enough because...
He's not. What did he make last year? I don't know, a couple million. Nobody wants to sign him for that. It's more like a voluntary thing where, hey, if you want to come back and try to win a cup with someone, we're going to give you whatever the floor salary is. We know you don't need the money, Yarmir. And it definitely, that's why nobody's calling during this free agent period, because we're like, we'll get you when, when the season starts and you start missing being out there, then we'll bring you in. But the GMs are not excited to fork over an actual commitment of, over $1 million.
So just looking up what his salary was, I believe it was $4 million last year.
Jeez. Yeah, I mean, who's going to give $4 million freaking dollars to a 45-year-old?
In fairness, maybe one of these teams with a boatload of salary, perhaps, because I mean, whilst $4 million is quite a lot for a 45-year-old, definitely, don't get me wrong, I completely agree with you. However, I mean, could you get any better teacher for young players than one of the best players that has ever played in the National Hockey League?
You can, but I mean, pay him a coach salary. I'm at age 45, the skills can go so quickly. That's the other thing. Any underwriter is going to put a lot of risk on Yarmir's body. And though he looks great, I mean, he's in fantastic shape. But there's only so much shelf life for a 45-year-old. And then, how many minutes are you going to ask him to play when you could give that to a developing fourth liner or something? I just don't feel like, he's going to be anywhere near that salary price point, and as serviceable even as he was last year. His skills are going to decline.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it is a case of whether there's a team out there that wants to go, okay, actually there's a guy here that we have a prospect that's not necessarily doing as well as we hoped. Okay, we'll give you a contract for 1 year while we let this guy develop in the minors. Or is it a case of, Yager, we would like to have you, but you're asking too much money, and we have a spot on the roster for another younger guy.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the thing with Yager,
you're not going to get one past him. That's for sure.
I think the thing with Yager though is he always finds a way, doesn't he? He always finds a way to make his way back into the league. Whether it's, I mean, especially me, sort of starting to watch hockey. One of the first big pieces of news I remember is when Yager signed with the Dallas Stars. I mean, he's gone from the Dallas Stars, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Boston Bruins, the Florida Panthers.
Single-season goal scoring record holder.
I believe he is as well. Like, yeah, but in terms of like teams that he's bounced around with the last few years, like apart from Florida, where he spent 3 seasons, like he's bounced around a lot with teams recently, and understandably so because he is an older guy. So it is one of those cases that it's trying to find whether he will sign with a team. I can imagine it's going to be one of these situations where he signs perhaps next week. I would leave it up until next week, most definitely. I think he could basically sign whenever he wants, in fairness, because it's kind of like, is Jaromir Jagr, like, bow down to him, in fairness. So, but I think it's a given that he's going to re-sign with a team. It's just a question of which one, and which one wants to take that gamble, and which one thinks he can provide the most to a team. Speaking of other free agents, Carl Olsner apparently has agreed to terms with the Montreal Canadiens, he has said that he is going to commit to the Montreal Canadiens.
Do you think the Canadiens will just add some offense?
Well, I mean, they've got the problem of Radulov that needs to be signed as well. So,
right, but it seems like they know what their problem is, which is scoring goals, and they don't seem to do anything about it. In fact, their solution is to trade offensive players like PK Subban. I mean, Weber was very good in the playoffs, but Subban was better. So
Yeah, but in fairness, I would say that. Yeah, I think both players did exactly what they said on the tin. I think both players did exactly what you would have expected them to do, being the players that they are. The only problem is PK Subban. He had a better team around him. That's true. Yeah, I mean, Carey Price is a brilliant goaltender. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, in terms, you need to win 16 games in the playoffs to win the Stanley Cup. I mean, a goaltender can't steal all 16 for you.
No.
And as you said, the problem was that they don't have goal scoring. But just sort of looking at my list in terms of the top sort of players available, I would say the thing that the Montreal Canadiens need to look for the most is another winger to play with Galchenyuk and Pacioretty. However, there isn't really anybody out there to look at other than Alexander Radulov, because in terms of wingers, there's Patrick Marleau, who, I mean, he's way past his prime, to say the least. There's Patrick Sharp, but he's now signed with the Blackhawks. He signed, I believe, he has signed a 1 year, 1 year deal. I believe it's $1 million. So he's gone back to the Blackhawks, just in case you're just tuning in. There's Patrick, there's Chris Kunitz, but he's very old, that is as well. Thomas Vanek.
Kunitz is another guy where you're like, holy crap, he's like old. Like, and
yeah.
He's been around forever, but he's really come on the last couple of years. Or, I mean, been more recognizable because of the deep run. But yeah, he's been around for a long time.
He has. And, I mean, he's one of the better left wingers available. In terms of right wingers, we've got Justin Williams, but he's going to want to demand a lot more money than he's probably worth. There's Radim Verbata, but he's likely to re-sign with Arizona. There's Yager, and we've already just talked about him. And there's Alice Hemsky. So there's not exactly a huge amount of top-line talent available, is there?
It's pretty clear that if they number one, they've got to pay Radulov because he was very good in the playoffs, and he's proven that he's worth the money. But at the same time, they're probably going to overpay for him, and then they're going to have to develop some forwards, and it's got to be frustrating for Montreal fans to know that they're pretty far off. And just from earlier, Price did not look unbeatable in the playoffs either.
No,
like there were no saves that I was like, oh wow, you bastard! Like what a save, and not to say that the Rangers did a great job. Didn't not say that, but he did not look like someone where it's like, oh, every time we come down, he's going to come up with something. Magical. It wasn't like that.
No, I agree, definitely. We have a couple of comments here. By the way, guys, feel free to say anything in the comments. We'll talk about it. We'll have, we want to try and bring you guys in as much as possible, because, I mean, you are the guys watching. So, stick anything in the chat. It may take us a little while to get to it, because, as you can tell, we're two people that really like to talk about sports, so we kind of go off on tangents a little bit and find one topic and find so much stuff to talk about. But we do have a couple of things here.
Be the border collie here, because I can border collie here.
Sure. So, Polo King, hello, buddy. How's it going? To the rest of you that have joined, Donald, hey, buddy, and Jake, hello. How's it going?
Donald J.
So, Polo King, do you think Matt Duchene will leave Colorado? What do you think?
Question.
Can I say before that, speaking, having read NHL religiously over the last few days, it seems that the latest development in terms of the interest for Matt Duchene, Pittsburgh are interested in picking him up, funnily enough. They haven't said what they're giving up or what they would be willing to give up, but the very most recent one is the Columbus Blue Jackets have supposedly given an offer have tested an offer to Joe Sakic, the GM of the Colorado Avalanche, where they will give the Colorado Avalanche Ryan Murray and either another roster player or a prospect or a pick in exchange for Matt
I
Duchene.
don't get what Colorado's thinking, right? Like, if you have Matt Duchene and Nate McKinnon and Landeskog, like, you kind of have to make that work, don't you? I mean, you've got a lot of front-end talent, and now, you have one bad year, and you're just getting ready to dump your guy. Like, I get that Joe Sakic wants to, get something out of this, get a player that's unhappy, but or it just seems to be losing his fastball. But I don't know why you don't try to make that work.
I think, to me, it's more, I can understand why Sakic is trying to field offers, because, first of all, why not? If there's offers out there and something that tempts you, why not? Like, take a look. But I think the problem is that he's been such a talk of trade rumours for basically the entire season, because I think next year is the year that his contract runs out. So there's a lot of talk about whether Duchene is going, and I think Duchene's roughly 26 years old, so he's hitting that point where it's like, this is the best production he's ever going to give in his career. And I think also the fact that Nathan McKinnon has very much progressed how Colorado have wanted him to, and I mean, he's probably not quite there yet, but he's almost a bona fide first-line centre, I would say, about Nathan McKinnon. He is such an exciting player to watch. And he's one of those young guys that it's like, you can forget about him really easily because he just goes about his work and just does what he needs to do. But I think the thing with Colorado is they're fielding offers because there may be something that comes up. Because I think there's no secret that their defensive core last year was one of the most disgusting things that's ever been seen in the National Hockey League over the last few years. You cannot drop that many games and have that awful goaltending that the chances are that I can completely understand that Colorado is fielding Matt Duchene, especially for defensemen, because that is hands down what Colorado need. They have Landeskog, they have Nathan McKinnon, they have what's his name, Tyson Jost, I think he's coming up. They've got Mikko Rantanen coming up. They've got a lot of good young guys within that team, especially at forward. And they've got some solid depth guys in the bottom six who know how to play their roles, who play their roles relatively well. It's the defensive core that sucks absolute dick, really.
So it's hard to believe what
it's a question of...
He's still like 22, 23.
Yeah, I think he's 23, I think.
I mean, he should,
yeah, basically.
I think it would have been better to put him down in the minors for a while instead of making him freaking captain. But, yeah, I mean, if Duchene goes and they get something for him, they'll be fine, at least in the top pairings. But, it's questioning to think you have that much talent in a player of Matt Duchene's caliber, and you don't want to hold on to it.
Yeah. I think Matt Duchene, yeah, like, as you say, he's a very high caliber player, but it is a case of if they move from him, it's a case of they're going to have to get a solid return,
Absolutely.
And I think it would be silly of Joe Sakic not to listen to any offer that he's given for Matt Duchene. I think because he is a guy that he's several years older than quite a lot of that young core as well. I think that's a problem as well, especially in Matt Duchene's sort of ballpark, is the problem that he's still very young and he's still right in his prime. The only problem is he's a couple of years older than some of these other guys, so he might not be around when these guys are right at their prime, and he might be on the wrong side of 30, essentially.
Do you think Sakic's job is on the line with what he does with Duchene? Like, I mean, he seems to have, in my opinion, I mean, he seems to get away with terrible moves and still keep his job. Do you think that it ever gets to a point where the fans and the ownership are like, geez, this guy's kind of not good?
I think in terms of Joe Sakic, I think he's on the line for this season. I think the fact that they had one of the worst seasons in recent NHL history has put him within the firing line straight away. I don't think it's got anything to do with the Duchene trade. I think it's got something to do with the fact that it depends on how Colorado play this year. I think if Colorado start the year poorly, Sakic could be gone.
Yeah, it's perfectly possible. I think he's
It wouldn't surprise me.
When all he's really done is not much.
Yeah. And what he's done has been a bit rubbish as well. So,
was there another question?
So, we also have something about Jaromir Jagr. Where is it? Jaromir Jagr should just go out and sign 1-year contracts with everyone in the league for the rest of his career and end with Pittsburgh. I mean, I'd love to see him end with Pittsburgh, definitely. Like, hang on a minute. Yeah, definitely. I agree with what you say, Jake. You're absolutely right. He should sign 1-year contracts. Chances are that's all he's going to get. He should end his career with Pittsburgh. I completely agree. It turns out that Justin Williams has signed with the Carolina Hurricanes on a 2-year contract.
He must not care about winning.
Well, but I mean, in fairness, didn't Justin Williams used to play for the Carolina Hurricanes? He won the cup with them, didn't he?
I don't know.
I believe he did. I believe that was his first cup, and then he went and won 2 with LA, didn't he? I believe that's right. Chat, let me know. I'm pretty sure Justin Williams was part of the Carolina Stanley Cup winning team. Do let me know, though. Also, yeah, Patrick Sharp has gone to Chicago, as we said.
That's a good pull.
I'm just looking down.
I mean, that's a nice little nugget right there. And even Justin Williams couldn't help the Caps get past the second round.
No, exactly. Missed a Game 7.
Well, we got to talk about them in a little bit. But,
well, I mean, we could talk about them a little bit now because defenseman Carl Olsner has signed a 5-year contract with the Montreal Canadiens. So the Capitals lose Carl Olsner.
I think that it's just funny what the Caps say and what they do. They're like, oh, yeah, we need to break up the core of this team that can never get past the second round. They're like, oh, but let's re-sign TJ Oshie to a boat anchor of a deal.
And yeah, I saw your tweets about that, and I could not agree more.
I mean, obviously they can get rid of little guys like Alsner and these non-identity type players, but again, when you say you're going to shake up the core, it's kind of like in Hockey Ultimate Team. Shouldn't you start selling some guys off at auction? Getting something back.
Just to add to for those of you watching, just to add, Carl Olsner signed a 5-year contract with the Montreal Canadiens, an average annual value of, I think, $4.6 million.
That's a lot of dough for Carl Olsner.
That is a lot. I think that is also premeditated by the other piece of news. I don't know if you saw this, that Dmitry Orlov re-signed with the Washington Capitals
to
a 6-year contract, average annual value of $5.1 million. So,
well, yeah, they
a guy that hasn't
forced to choose there, and of course,
yeah.
I
mean, they lost.
They re-signed one of their blue liners who, couldn't keep up with the Penguins 2 years in a row.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, they lost Nate Schmidt, didn't they, to the Vegas expansion draft, and that was a guy that they actually really wanted to keep. So they lost him. They've lost Olsner now. So the problem is, I would say, whilst it's like the Caps haven't managed to get through the second round, you've got to give them credit where they're due. They have won 2 straight President's Trophies, which compared to the Stanley Cup means nothing. I completely agree. But being the best team in the regular season, 2 years running, is incredibly impressive.
Won a cup in a while,
I believe the last time it happened was 5 or 6 years ago, I want to say.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember exactly, but it's not as long ago as you think it is probably what I'd say. I would also add that, so the Habs have signed signed Olsner. I mean, sure, great signing and all that, but as you say, I think this is more of a problem for the Capitals than it is for the Habs, because the Habs, sure, whilst they can't score, and they haven't been able to for the last few seasons, they do have some young guys in the pipeline that could potentially help them out with that. But they're also keeping their strong defensive core or their identity of defense first relatively intact with this signing. The problem is the fact that the Washington Capitals are now having to scramble for prospects to fit these spots because they've lost Schmidt, they've signed Orlov to a ridiculous contract, and they've lost Olsner, which Olsner, as I just read, he hasn't missed a game in 7 seasons.
That is impressive.
So,
I'll say that.
Especially in a league like this where, I mean, just getting through one season without missing a game is pretty impressive in itself. But, I mean, whilst Olsner isn't the best player, he's not a goal scorer, nothing like that at all. He's a solid defenseman, and he can play top 4, top 6. He's not a top 2 defenseman, but that's not why the Habs signed him. They signed him to be top 4, because they've got their top 2 defenseman. They're sorted with that. And, of course, they made some trades before the draft. They shifted a few guys around, so... and I think they may... Who did they lose to the Vegas expansion draft?
Who was that?
I'm trying to remember. Who did the Habs?
I don't know. Jeez, that's a good question.
I'm pretty sure it was a defenseman, though.
I
can't remember which one.
Guys to the draft and then they get traded immediately away.
Because they traded away Bellier. Oh, they got David Schlemko from the Vegas Golden Knights. So that was interesting. David Schlemko, solid top 6 guy, I'd say. I mean, the problem is with quite a lot of these guys, it's just kind of like, yeah, they do their job. Because there isn't really a huge amount about them, is there? So it is kind of like, especially guys like Olsner, you have to really like dig deep to find these interesting pieces of information about them. Because otherwise, it's kind of like, yeah, he's a defenseman and he does his job. Right. So... talking to the chat, yes, Justin Williams did win the Stanley Cup with the Carolina Hurricanes in 2006, and that is where he got his nickname Mr. Game 7, of course. Well, I would say he's got that through his ability to play really well in Game 7s. That might be where it started, but I mean, it definitely has culminated from how well he has played in Game 7s over his career. RIP Washington, their defense is now bordering dumpster fire. I quite like that. That's pretty decent. Don't you think no one wants the Caps' core players? They're all proven losers.
Oh, that hurts. That's
I mean, in fairness, pretty true though. So other teams not willing to pay first rounders for losers. Caps didn't need to change defense. Can't score in playoffs when things got tighter in later rounds. Yeah, I mean that's the problem.
I don't know if I buy into all that so completely. I mean, they've had some bad luck, and
yeah,
it's just hard to believe that they're just choking all this time. But you just look historically, like, yeah, they get to second round and they crumble, but they've also had some terrible matchups. I mean, last 2 years they get the Stanley Cup champion in the second round. Now, if you're the President's Club or President's Trophy winner, like, shouldn't you get the best team like at the end? Like, that's the point of winning the President's Cup. And they got jobbed so hard 2 years in a row. And then the year before that, they get the President's Trophy winner in the Rangers. The way that the playoffs are set up is very anti-capital because they're going to have to play a division rival, teams that are built to beat them. I mean, it's okay to be built to beat other teams, but they have to face teams that are specifically built to beat them in the first or second round every time. So they get back-to-back grueling series. Now, if they could ever get by that, I think they could win a cup. But at the same time, it's like the Caps do have terrible luck.
Definitely, yeah, I agree. They have bad luck, but I think also that's where experience comes in. So I think the problem for the Capitals is they have experience of being in the Stanley Cup playoffs because they've had that core of players that has got them there like the last however many years. The only problem is they don't tap into that experience to help them win fucking games. I think that's the biggest problem.
They go out and they get Mr. Game 7, and then they get a Game 7, and they're like, yes, this is what we paid this guy for. And Pittsburgh handles business.
I mean, like, as Cowley Kid 84, hey buddy, as he says, like, they could barely beat the Maple Leafs in the first round. A team of kids.
Right.
Like, every single game in that round went to overtime.
Yeah, they looked like they were on fumes too. I mean, they did not look good, and it's got to be frustrating for the fans. It seemed that way too with the Rangers the year before when they won the President's Trophy. They seemed to come into the playoffs running on feet. It seems to be that this strategy of just taking the regular season. Yeah, you got to get into the playoffs. You got to align your matchups, but getting hot in May is the way to go. Rather than just it's very hard to just beat everyone in the NHL.
Yeah, I definitely agree, but I think let's change the subject slightly in terms of the waiver buyouts. So, for some reason yesterday, it makes perfect sense, but over the last few days there has been sort of 4 or 5 players that have been placed on waivers with the intention of being bought out, or their contracts being bought out. And the first one I should mention is Ryan Murphy, as I mentioned earlier, part of the trade that went to the Carolina Hurricanes in exchange for sending Lack to the Calgary Flames. So, got him to waive him, fair enough. Lance Boomer from the Calgary Flames, or Boma, however you wish to call him. British accent, happens sometimes. He's been bought out, or he's been waived to be buyout as well. Jimmy Hayes has as well.
He was terrible.
So, he really did not have a good time in Boston, that's for sure. UC Jokinen has also potentially been bought out. Mike Camilleri has also been bought out as well by the New Jersey Devils. Devontae Smith-Pelly also supposedly has been bought out. And and Stewart from the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, that one makes sense because he wasn't really that good to begin with. Okay, so let's shift things back slightly to New York Rangers territory, the place where the two of us know the best. Brendan Smith re-signing with the New York Rangers. A 4-year contract with an average annual value of $4.35 million. What do you think about that then, 5 points?
I like it. I mean, the fact that you're losing Girardi, which is no real,
Who I should add is rumoured to be potentially signing with the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Boy, they just... Yeah, I'm surprised that there's so much interest in Girardi, but his skills are declining, his speed is declining. Yeah, I like.
He's basically a shot blocker.
He definitely brings toughness to the blue line. I mean, acquisition or re-signing. He definitely fits in with the culture of the team, and we really needed him pretty badly because there's not much else. I mean, if you were asked, "Hey, Brendan Smith's on the market, you want to sign him?" Probably sign him. So, I think that was a nice.
I think. Especially the fact that he can play both the left and right hand side of the defensive line is incredibly helpful. Having a versatile player like that is absolutely brilliant. I also think the fact that he had such great chemistry with Brady Shea, especially in the playoffs, helps tremendously. I think that's really useful. I think, of course, the Rangers have the problem now. Supposedly, there's rumours that Kevin Kline might retire by the end of this season.
He was not even there. When we needed him.
It's really interesting because there was a lot of talk about that potentially Kevin Kline might retire this off-season. There was a lot of talk of that before the draft, and then the draft happened, and I haven't heard anything since. I will also add in to people in the chat, especially Theodore Morris. Hello, buddy. How are you? We are, talking about people that I saw lots of tweets from Bob McKenzie this morning, and he basically said where every single player was signing based on the information that he had. But we are purely going off the ones that are completely 100% announced by the NHL as, right, this has happened. So there is a lot of other sort of stuff about, there's deals that have been made, but of course the time hasn't arrived yet. I'm purely going off the list of the teams and who signed with them on the NHL website. So, team players like Girardi and Shattenkirk, they haven't been properly announced yet. So once they come up on the screen, I will announce them. Speaking of which, Chicago Blackhawks made another signing for Tommy Wingels.
Oh, nice.
So, Tommy Wingels, of course, he played with the San Jose Sharks, then was traded to the Ottawa Senators last season. It's a 1-year contract. The financial terms supposedly have not been disclosed yet. So, I think that's a very smart move by the Chicago Blackhawks. Definitely. Tommy Wingels is a very versatile guy. Of course, he's a bottom six guy primarily, but he knows his role within the league. He knows what he's been signed to do, and he does that very well, in my opinion.
Tommy Wingels, he's got to have a talk show after he retires. I mean, with a name like that, it's the Tommy Wingels show.
And then just some like cheesy music.
Yeah, real cheesy. Yeah, I'm seeing like him wearing a wig, like a bat toupee of some kind.
Love it.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had to get that.
No, by all means. No, I completely agree. So, another question. Mike Camilleri has had his contract bought out. Where do you see him going?
Ooh.
Okay, so where do you see him going? What's the length of the contract and how much average annual value?
I think he'll probably get 2 years somewhere. Really discounted. Maybe. He's probably not going to play for less than $1.5 million. I don't know.
Definitely. He will not play for less than that.
I'm thinking maybe, my first thought was like the Ducks. I don't know why. But he might be he might be able to help somebody that wants to get closer or have some veteran leadership in there.
Bearing in mind the Ducks have re-signed Patrick Eaves, of course. They signed him just after the draft, I believe.
Culturally,
because they managed to find that cap space.
Like in Buffalo as well. Someone that's just desperate to put a name out there. He's not coming from not very far away either. But he's definitely not someone that's going to light the world.
No, I think he's definitely sort of now in that whole bottom six depth scorer category as opposed to top six 30 goal scorer category that he perhaps once was in. So Mike Camilleri definitely. I personally think he'll go to a Metropolitan Division rival.
You thinking the Flyers?
Compared to New Jersey, I potentially. I'm thinking I'm thinking somewhere close like that. Yeah, maybe or maybe even Buffalo, somewhere close to the New Jersey area, perhaps. Like we might see him go to the Islanders, perhaps, because they've picked up Eberle. So they've got another winger. They've got Tavares. It could be interesting to see where he does end up. I do definitely think Eastern Conference, though. I don't know why. That's just my gut feeling saying Eastern Conference is where he's going to go.
You got a 50-50 shot on that one.
Yeah, exactly. So if I was a gambling man, which I'm not, it probably wouldn't help if it's a 50-50. So, but in terms of other news, Cowley Kid once again. Hello, buddy. How you doing? He says if he was a GM, which I assume we all wish we were in some way or another. He'd probably sign Camilleri, probably $3 million for a 1-year deal.
Oh wow!
He thinks he probably goes to a contender, maybe the Flames. I don't think he'll go back to the Flames. I think the Flames are done with Mike Camilleri because, of course, he played there previously, and I think he's past that now. He also says no way he signs for under 2.5 million. I could very much agree with that. I think Camilleri, he's definitely going to be thinking about the financial side as well. Sure, he'd love to go to a contender, and I think he'd love to win a cup at this point, but I think he's also going to think about how much money he can get as well. So, which I don't blame him for. I mean, he's in the league that's willing to pay him, so get as much as you can, in my opinion. Also, Josh Joris has been signed to the Carolina Hurricanes. It has just been announced to a 1-year deal. I'm just trying to check. 1-year contract worth $775,000.
Sorry, I lost you.
Of course, he split.
Technical difficulties.
Oh, sorry. Josh Joris has signed with the Carolina Hurricanes. A 1-year deal for $775,000.
That's that shows them that they actually need him.
Yeah, I mean, Joris split time between the New York Rangers and the Arizona Coyotes last year. I mean, hopefully he'll get a chance to actually play. Whilst Josh Joris isn't an amazing player, I do kind of feel sorry for him. Like, I pity the guy because he hasn't found a home yet in the league. Like, he hasn't managed to find a place where he can actually play an 82-game season.
How old is he?
I think he's 25, 26.
I mean, he needs to take care of that if he wants to be here.
Exactly. I believe he's 26.
The Rangers were desperate for Blue and he was there last year. And
yeah,
it wasn't working out. But I definitely hope he finds his stride.
Well, I mean,
he could definitely be in the league for 2-3 more years, and maybe even beyond if he can, put it together and find a place that'll give him some minutes.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's as a forward, because he played on the fourth line, I think, Rangers wise, because I didn't really watch him. Yeah, he's in. I was wondering why you were saying defense. But he played on the fourth line primarily with the Rangers. I didn't really watch him after he went to Arizona. I'm like everybody else that watches hockey. We don't really watch Arizona. So that's a bit of a low blow, isn't it?
Kick them while they're down,
Josh Joris. Well, I mean, they're looking pretty good for next season, I must admit, so I'm a bit jealous.
I like what they've done.
Yeah,
they've done
me
it
too.
Very cheaply. And I think they're making a push to say, we're going to put a winner out here. We got to get some fans in the door. We're going to do it. And I mean, that Stepan deal was pretty slick. If you ask me.
Yeah, I agree. I think Arizona are going to do very well this year. I think they've gotten older, but they've gotten more experienced and more talented over this year. I think their youngest GM in NHL history, I believe 26 years old, John Chaika is, and he's showing that age is but a number, honestly. Like, if you'd sat there and told me that a 26-year-old GM in the NHL had made moves like that, I would have been like, you're talking shit.
Right.
Like, no way.
Right.
But he's legitimately made some really, really good moves. Like, he's picked up Nicholas Jalmerson, who's likely to play with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Those two have played before for Team Canada. He's picked up a first-line centre. Well, I say first-line centre. Stepan's never really been a first-line centre, but he will be in Arizona. And they've picked up a solid starting goaltender in Antti Ranta, potentially. I mean, Cam Talbot showed that he can be a starting goaltender with the Edmonton Oilers. It's now a question of whether Antti Ranta can put the talent that he showed last year into a 40, 50 potentially game season.
We'll find out. I mean, if Ranta came into this league with that as his intent, then this is going to be his chance. And I tell you, he has shown in the games that when he's subbed for Hank, that he is definitely capable of NHL, not just serviceable, but upper level type goaltending. So he's definitely a nice pick. And remember, they got Duclair and Domi, and they got lots of pieces out in Arizona. I do like what I am excited. Like as a geek, as a hockey geek, I want to see them make a run at the playoffs. If not, get in and
act like the Maple Leafs of the West.
That is exact. I was just about to say that. Like, I completely agree with what you say, because that's exactly how I felt about the Maple Leafs this last season.
God, you talk about the Leafs too. My sister, they're like Edmonton, the Leafs.
Yeah.
If you're, Canada has been shut out. Hasn't gotten deep into the playoffs. But if you're a Canadian hockey fan right now, you've got to be excited about.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see more Canadian teams jumping back in. My sister, for example, is a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. I've never really thought that much about Toronto. They've kind of been a team that I like, but I've never really had that much of an affiliation with. But this season, I've actually been interested in what they do. I've been interested in the games that they've played, and I mean, nothing beat watching Austin Matthews in his opening night. I think that will stay as one of the highlights of me watching hockey, over my entire life. A 4-goal debut. It's so easy to forget that because it was right at the start of last season. But if you told anybody that Austin Matthews, first overall pick, generational talent potentially, he's got all that on his resume. He had all that on his resume before he was drafted. There's no contention about that. But live up to that hype and score 4 goals in your debut. That's just what's so brilliant about sports, I think.
Yeah, I mean it was amazing, what's the other kid? Nylander. I mean, they've got three really. It's like Crosby and Kessel. If they can develop into that, they've got some stars, and Malkin. And they've got some stars. It's only been a year that they've been together, and for them to do. And then they got Mike Babcock as the coach. Come on, it's only a matter of time before their fan base becomes insufferable. And because they're going to be good for a long time. Toronto, as much as, they're like the New York, they're the lightning rod of Canada when it comes to the media circus around their team. But if they get good, oh my gosh, you're going to be hearing about a lot.
Definitely. So, speaking of superstars, I want to come back to Connor McDavid in a minute, because there's been a lot of talk about him today signing a contract extension. But just to add to the list of free agents, Chad Johnson has gone back to Buffalo on a 1-year contract worth $2.5 million. Wow. So Chad Johnson and Robin Lehner have reunited as the goaltending tandem. Jean-Francois Berube has signed a 2-year contract with the Chicago Blackhawks. The Vegas expansion pick by the New York Islanders decided to go and sign with Chicago. Obviously, Vegas weren't that interested with him. And Trevor Daley has signed a 3-year contract with the Detroit Red Wings.
Wow.
So I quite like that, actually. I think that's a good pickup for Detroit. Defense has been a bit of an issue for them since Lidstrom left. So picking up a guy like Trevor Daley, who, I mean, the only sort of negative thing we can really say about him before he's even started is the fact that he missed the majority, if not all of the playoffs with an injury. So that's not that good. But he's the sort of guy that can provide he provides stability at the back end, which is, I think, exactly what Detroit need, especially losing somebody like Brendan Smith.
Yeah, I mean, Detroit clearly in the category of we're not going to be good for a while. We had a wonderful time.
Yeah.
We had a nice run, and it's time to rebuild. So they're not really, they're going to be quiet for a while. I think it's going to be rough for Red Wings fans. This time period.
Yeah.
That's the fact of life for them.
Good things come to those who wait, though, as Toronto fans will tell you. But I think, so going back to Connor McDavid, so he's still got 1 year left on his entry-level contract, which I think the accountants of the Edmonton Oilers are quite happy with, especially considering what they're talking about at the moment. And today is the first day that he can sign a contract extension. Of course, you can sign a contract extension a year before your current contract is already over, which is good. So it's a case of Connor McDavid. He led the league this year in points, 100 points, the only player to hit triple digits. And he managed to find a way for the Edmonton Oilers to offer him an 8-year contract with an average annual value roughly of $13 million. That's the report.
I feel like that is almost not enough. Like, that is a freaking bargain for Connor. And if you look at it, by the end of that contract, he's going to be worth $20 million. So, and he's how old? Like, did he just get?
It's 21, I believe. It's 20.
Able to drink legally in America. And I think it's a bargain for them. And I think there's no way that the Edmonton Oilers cannot have this guy spend his entire career in Edmonton. They're just, if he's just like, it's too cold, I don't like it here, they've got to just say, all right, we'll just back up another Brinks truck and give you whatever you want. And for them to make this move is smart. And Connor McDavid for willing to sign for that much, he didn't. I honestly think, it's a gaudy contract, but it's worth every penny. Because he just got you to the conference finals with shit players around him. I mean, you had to trade. You got rid of Nail Yakupov and Taylor Hall, other number one overall.
I mean, he made Patrick Maroon almost a 30-goal scorer.
Right.
So
I mean, and Maroon came out of nowhere because he's getting fed the puck. Like, his unselfish style of play. Like, I would have to say. I cannot say enough about him. I'm going to gush on him now because he hasn't won any championships. But there's going to be a time when you're just like, damn it, McDavid. Like, he is going to crush a lot of dreams with his play because he is just that good.
I think the only problem, like, whilst I completely agree with, like, getting him for that much money is ridiculous. Like, that's such a bargain. The only problem is there's something called the NHL salary cap, which, I mean, as sort of from my perspective, as like thinking of it from like a business perspective and from a salary cap perspective, I completely understand why they want to offer Connor McDavid so much money. Like, I completely understand because he is such a generational, amazing talent. The only problem is they're going to run into a problem very similar, potentially, to the Chicago Blackhawks. Because they also want to sign Leon Draisaitl. Of course, he won't get $13 million a year. He's probably looking more at the 6 to 8 at this moment in time. Because he's a very good player, but he's not Connor McDavid. And he could be that bona fide 1-2 punch that, say, the Anaheim Ducks have, or the Chicago Blackhawks have in Kane and Taves. But the only problem is, whilst I completely agree that Connor McDavid deserves that money, if there wasn't a salary cap, he'd be getting far much more than that. The only thing is, there is a salary cap, and we've seen what happened with Chicago. They're having to trade away or they've had to, over the last few years, keep trading away key pieces of their quote-unquote dynasty, according to some people, such as myself. I think they're a dynasty. Or they were. They've had to keep trading away pieces of that dynasty in order to stay under the salary cap. What happens? Oh, thank you. Somebody just followed or subscribed. Thank you very much. The problem is that they've had to
They've had to make some sacrifices for sure.
But yeah, and I mean, what happened? They got swept in the first round of the playoffs this year.
Yeah, but would you not say that behavior was worth it to get 3 cups in that time period?
Oh no, I completely agree. But the only problem is, whilst that, like having 3 cups in 5-6 years, that makes complete sense. The only problem is they're not at that point anymore. They haven't won it in 2 years. So this is like the fallout. And the only problem with it is whilst you get those 3 cups, or these 2 cups most recently, 2010 is kind of a different one, I would say, that because that's before Kane and Taves signed their $10 million contract extensions. I think the only problem with this is the fact that now we're seeing the real impact that signing two players to contracts like this has on a team, especially one with a salary cap. Because, like for example, you said Connor McDavid could be worth $20 million maybe next season or the season after. I completely agree. The only problem is that's roughly a third of the salary cap.
That's absurd.
So it's a case of whilst he deserves that money, I don't think he should be getting that money whilst there's a salary cap on. If there wasn't, go for it. Sign him to as much as you want. But I very much like the salary cap. I think it's a very good idea. And I think that this will, if they do sign him to that, which it's looking like they will, I mean, we'll probably find out more as the stream goes on, as the day goes on. I'm thinking that this could do more harm than good to the Edmonton Oilers. They're kind of really giving themselves a window to win the cup, which is like 2 or 3 years.
Well, let's think about it, though. How long's the deal for?
8 years.
So in 8 years, Connor McDavid would be 28 years old, right? So in those last 3 years of the deal, he's going to overproduce the $13 million. That's going to, and remember, the salary cap does escalate over time. So.
But that's only a difference of like a couple of million.
But a couple of million could be another blue line.
Fair point.
I would say, with the rate that the salary cap increases, and how talent's being paid, by the end of this initial, remember this is the initial deal, right? His second deal after this is going to be even more lucrative. So if you can squeeze out a couple cups before he comes asking for, oh my gosh, at the end of 8 years, he might ask for 25. Right? It's worth it now. He's not going anywhere.
No,
you don't
true.
have to do this for 8 years. Like I think giving him almost any amount of money other than 50% of your cap was a bargain because he just got him to the conference final.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
They got one more year of that.
So we'll put that subject to bed for now. I think we'll probably end up coming back to that at some point because a very interesting topic nonetheless. I will also add, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I've got my Twitch alerts on or my Streamlab alerts on, so it will come up on the stream. So I can say thank you to you, which will be very helpful. But in terms of a guy on the completely other end of the spectrum in terms of expectation for this year, especially for this year, Sam Gagner. So he has now signed a 3-year contract with the Vancouver Canucks. And his contract will make $3.15 million in average annual salary.
Wow, that's a lot.
So I am very skeptical about this one. I think it's to do with the fact that whilst I agree Sam Gagner needed an increase in money, judging by what Sam Gagner has done over his career, he's been either middle of the road or disappointing for every single year other than this one. And the only reason he didn't disappoint this year is because there was no expectation for him to produce. Like having a $3 million a year contract comes with expectations and comes with responsibilities. Gagner's had that before and he didn't produce. Now, whilst people can change and players can develop and it may just be a change of scenery, which is all they need, whilst I completely understand that, this year he was only on, I think, $750,000. He put up a 50-point season. It was one of the bargain contracts of the NHL this season. I completely agree. The only problem is now there's going to be a much larger expectation for Sam Gagner to produce now that he's got this. I think he's quadrupled his salary roughly. So and that's for 3 years. So it's a case of, is Sam Gagner going to be the Sam Gagner which we've known for the last however long, or is it going to be the Sam Gagner that we saw this season?
Well, they better hope it works out. That's
exactly.
a lot of dough for a guy, but I mean, good for him. He's going to get paid either way. He'll probably, if he doesn't, they'll just cut him and eat half that salary. At a price, sometimes with the cap at a price point, $3 million, it's really like 1.5 if you cut him. So I think teams look at that as well. Those are in that price range. Those are very movable pieces. Oftentimes.
Yeah. So, also, other news, Marc-Edouard Vlasic and Martin Jones have re-signed contract extensions with the San Jose Sharks. Vlasic has signed an 8-year extension, and Martin Jones has signed a 6-year extension.
Wow.
I'm just trying to get the average annual value. The average annual value for Martin Jones is $5.75 million, and Vlasic's is $7 million. I mean, sure. I mean, Vlasic is the kind of guy that can warrant that money, especially recently. He has really picked up his play, to be honest. Like, Vlasic, he is one of those guys that if you aren't, like, super into the inner workings of the league, you can brush over him quite a lot. Because he is, once again, another one of these guys that just gets on with the job that he's got. And he's proven very, very good at the job that he's got. Because he's a top pair guy in a team that made the Stanley Cup Finals last season. And he's warranted $7 million. Now, the question is, Brett... That's the only thing I'm thinking. I think they have rather overpaid Vlasic there. I mean... I would be thinking more the 6.5 million, whilst of course that isn't a huge difference of like 500,000 or $1 million, but if you add that over the 8 years that he's signed, makes a bit of a difference. So it's interesting.
Now when you I said $3 million is easy to get rid of. $7 million is not easy. That's where it has to work out. And I think, that's what really hurt the Rangers as well, is having all these $7 million guys. And, sometimes you got to move them on. But, that's a lot of dough for him. I hope he comes out and, earns it. But, $7 million. But he could have gone, he was going to get that money somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, this is just a case of security for them now, because they hadn't even, their contracts hadn't even ran out. So they've signed, those will be coming into effect by next season. And wow, the case is they have the, what am I trying to say? The San Jose Sharks top pair is earning a shit ton of money from next season, that's Burns, for sure. Brent Burns and Vlasic.
Right,
and then add Martin Jones to that back three earning a lot of money.
I mean, and they could have one guy loses his skill. Like, I mean, when the Rangers made, like, I hate to use them anecdotally, but when they made the final in 2014, everyone was bragging, "Oh, these guys are all signed for a long time." And then when one guy loses his skill, it turns into an albatross. That's the risk that a lot of teams take by signing up a lot of guys and giving them, obviously, their money. You got to win your championships in that window.
Yeah. Now, this is one that I'm very interested to talk about. So, another free agent signing just coming in. Antti Niemi, the previous goaltender of the Dallas Stars, whose contract was bought out earlier this week by the Stars. He has signed a contract with the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Wow.
He gets a 1-year contract worth $700,000. So I definitely think this contract is, I want to play for a contender over how much money I can get. I mean, Antti Niemi played rather poorly this season. I mean, the defense in front of him wasn't exactly the best, but I think that Niemi is the sort of guy that if he's got like all goaltenders, if he's got a solid defense in front of him, he can produce what you need. He won the cup with the Blackhawks in 2010, of course, and he is obviously he's obviously seeing something good in Pittsburgh and going, I think this team could potentially win a third in a row. because of the talent that they've got. I wouldn't put it past Pittsburgh to win a third in a row. Definitely not. And Pittsburgh need to save as much salary cap as possible. So I think this is a very smart move for them to get him for $700,000. Niemi is the sort of guy that they'll have Letang in front of him. They'll have some much better defensemen in front of Antti Niemi if he plays for the Penguins this year and isn't in the minors. So
it's an embarrassment of riches for the Penguins here to not only have a solution for Marc-Andre Fleury just drop in your lap, right? And then get a guy like Niemi. But I mean, they're clearly all in with that right now. The guy's won you 2 cups, and he's how old? He's like 10 years old, I think.
Well, I mean, he's been a rookie for both of them. So
a guy wins the cup twice as a rookie, which I think is an unbreakable record. Yeah, they clearly just need him to play a whole season, but Niemi is going to come in, and Murray's going to play a lot of games, and he should. He should.
Yeah.
He doesn't have much mileage on that frame, and now it's his show. He's already got two pieces of jewelry. He's playing with house money, and he's playing very well. He's very underrated. He does not. I don't think Matt Murray gets enough credit for what he did. Both years.
I think more so the first year than the second, because of course Fleury took most of the brunt of the first 2 rounds for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But I completely agree. I completely agree that Matt Murray is the sort of guy that you forget that he has been a rookie for both of these years, and you forget that he has led this team to 2 different championships back to back. Because of course, especially up to the Vegas expansion draft, all of the talk with goaltending has been, where is Marc-Andre Fleury going? And it has been his crease for the last 10 years or so. And he's got 3 Stanley Cup rings, because of course he won with the Pittsburgh Penguins, what was it, 2007 or 2008? One of those 2. So he's got the extra ring. So he's had a lot of talk about him. Okay, where's he going? What's happening with that? Of course, he went to Vegas. I don't think anybody really expected different, especially after the trade deadline. So he goes there.
I think for him too, it all works out because, like you said, he's got 3 pieces of jewelry, and he's gotten to lift the cup every time. Which I just, who cares whether you're in net or not when you hoist that?
Yeah.
And he wants to play, I think, and so he's not going to win right away, but this could be a good thing for him in the future as well. If he's looking at what do I do after hockey? Starting as the premier player of a franchise, he's going to be beloved, and he could parlay that into a GM role or even a head coach type thing.
Exactly.
So everything just works out. It's rare that happens, but this is one of those cases where it did just work out for everyone.
Yeah. Another piece of free agency news: Benoit Pouliot, who had his contract bought out by the Edmonton Oilers. First of all, Edmonton, what was that contract all about for Benoit Pouliot? He had 1 good year playing with the New York Rangers, and then you sign him to a contract like that. Like, I don't care if you've got a Connor McDavid. I don't care if you've got 4 Connor McDavids. That contract, awful. But anyway, he signs with the Buffalo Sabres on a 1-year contract, and he will receive $1.15 million.
Yeah, that's what he was worth before that deal with Edmonton.
Yeah.
It's just a right salary now. He did have that 1 year with the Rangers, but that wasn't even that impressive. So
no,
but
he had 14 points last year in 67 games. So no surprise that he's getting roughly $1 million, in my opinion.
Man, that's terrible.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. Now, speaking of Jimmy Hayes, do you think there should be a reuniting of the Hayes brothers in Broadway?
No. I just don't think, for as great as Kevin Hayes had been last year, and I'm really happy to see his development. Jimmy might not have what Kevin. He definitely needs a change of scenery. Who knows how hurt or how banged up he was? I don't know. I mean, if they could get him for a bargain, it'd be worth the shot. But I just
that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. Like, if the Rangers got Jimmy Hayes on, because I mean he's had his contract bought out, so he's still getting money in from the Boston Bruins. If he took a 1-year contract for like $1.5 million, if he took a Benoit Pouliot contract, I wouldn't be too upset about that, because there isn't really too much to be upset about with a contract like that. It's low risk, potentially high reward, and those are always the best contracts to talk about, especially if you're talking about your team. So I wouldn't be... It's like Michael Grabner, for example. Like, he had an amazing year. He was signed to a relatively low amount of money because chances are he was supposed to be leaving the league because he wasn't quite there anymore, especially with the Maple Leafs. So I wouldn't be too upset if he signed with the Rangers. I really wouldn't.
Yeah,
but it will be interesting to see where he goes, I think.
I mean, the Rangers, though, they need to develop some forwards. And to give a slot to Jimmy Hayes, a guy that was so atrociously bad last year. I mean, he was like the butt of a lot of jokes. I mean, just like, no, that's Jimmy Hayes level bad. I don't know. I mean, it does seem very low risk if you can get him for the right price, and obviously he'd be motivated to play well with his brother. But I don't see how he could fit in if he's gonna, especially if he's gonna play the shit brand of hockey that he did last year.
I agree.
And nothing against the kid. I mean, I'm sure he was working hard, but he just did not have his fastball.
No, there was nothing there last year was the problem. He showed quite a lot of promise in a couple of the years before, but then it just completely crumbled last year. He obviously there was I assume there's something else going on, because it's so. Unless there's something else going on, it's just so infrequent that massive drops like that take place. So,
hey, I hate to be a stream downer, but I'm probably going to be on for about 5 more minutes. So
that's not a problem.
More questions, opinions, I would love to.
Yeah, and anything. Let us know. Yeah, if you want to ask 5 points anything, now's the time to do it. So now I've got to find a good final topic to talk to you about. Yes. One is Evgeny Dadonov. Looks like he's coming back to the NHL. The Florida Panthers draft pick. He is set to sign a 3-year contract of annual average value of $4 million. He played for Florida between 2009 and 2012 after being drafted by them, so brought up and brought down, you know, how the whole system works. He played the last 4 years in the KHL, and he had 66 points in 53 games last year.
Isn't that great that they let these guys go to the KHL and get developed for free, and then they come back and they re-sign, and you're like, oh, you're a ready-made NHL player.
Yeah. Works pretty well, I think. It especially with Buchnevich as well. Yeah. Like, why not have those guys go over there? Like Valeri Nikushkin, that's gone from the Dallas Stars. Like, have them go over. I mean, Ilya Kovalchuk. That's a big topic that we should probably finish off with. Ilya Kovalchuk. So I believe today is the day that he can sign with another team, if he wants to return to the NHL. So supposedly there's been some links that the Rangers might be interested. According to a couple of people in the chat. I am not sure he will go with the Rangers. I don't think he should go with the Rangers because wingers isn't our problem. Centre depth is. And I think Nick Bonino is supposedly a guy that the Rangers are interested in. And I wouldn't mind seeing Bonino in a Rangers uniform, actually. I think he'd fit in quite nicely. He's a very versatile guy that can go up and down the lineup, which I think is what they want, especially considering they want to have Zibanejad as the top guy, Hayes as the second guy, Whether they will live up to those expectations next season, of course, is up to the hockey gods to decide. But it's a case of whether Bonino... I think Bonino could slot in quite nicely as a third-line centre or play as the second-line centre if Hayes doesn't produce how he should do.
Pretty crappy. I think that those are the options, honestly. If you're relying on Mika Zibanejad, and who's a nice player, don't get me wrong, Jimmy Hayes as your first two centers, where are the Canadian centers? Come on. Find them. They finally found a rush.
Hey, Sweden's done all right for themselves recently.
You don't necessarily need all these things, but look, Canadian center, Russian wing, and American sniper. That seems to be the way that it goes. Look at Chicago too. Right? They had Taves, and then Panarin, and then Kane. Right? So. The Americans, we've got it all wrong. We've got a Canadian winger, an American center, and a Russian sniper, and it's not working. So I don't know if you're relying on those two guys. Come on, develop someone, but at the same time, you almost have to wait for generational talent to come on board, like Stanford, McDavid. And Crosby are all guys that are stars. And Taves, again, those big guys, they came along in the draft. You're not going to find them in free agency, that's for sure. And so, I think it might be just rough on Broadway next year.
Yeah. However, they did say that last year, and we seem to do all right. Nothing special, but we got there.
We should have absolutely beaten the Senators. In my mind, conference finals potential team. And it didn't happen. We should have been, and we would not have beaten Pittsburgh Penguins in any capacity.
No,
but it would have been
not
nice
at all.
to try and fail.
No, I agree.
So we'll see what they do.
I think, though, the last piece of news, which might make you feel better, is Brian Elliott has signed a 2-year contract with the Philadelphia Flyers, and he's getting $5.5 million.
They are so perfect for each other.
They are so perfect for each other. I know, right?
I love that signing as a Rangers fan. You want us to
apparently
all next year too. All right. So we'll take that.
So the average... Oh, right, okay, so I didn't actually realise this. The average annual value is half of that, so it's $2.75 million. So that's
still
more...
Still got to pay
Brizgalov, yeah.
Well, hey, I had a great time. This was awesome.
Well, thank you for coming out.
I rarely get to talk live sports and share my opinion with the YouTube family out there. For those of you that got on and joined, I really appreciate it. And obviously, if you came over from my Twitter, subscribe to Odd Man Rush and his channel. And I look forward to entertaining you guys some more. Definitely appreciate you inviting me, Omar. And best of luck. Let's get you to 1,000, 2,000 subs.
That would be awesome. Yeah, no, thanks for coming out. I appreciate the help. And just remember, people in the chat, 5 points is going, but the stream is continuing. Right. So you're more than welcome to stick around. I will definitely look much more at your comments now. So 5 points, thanks for coming out. I do appreciate it, buddy.
Take it easy.
As always.
All right, take it easy.
All right, see you later, man. Okay. So, that's that done. So, 5 points has left us. He has left the world of Odd Man Rush. And it's just me now, guys. So, I'm going to be talking to you guys a lot now. I'm hoping there's several of you out there. Let's have a chat. Why not? Let's have some fun. So, in terms of more news, Steve Mason has signed with the Winnipeg Jets as he was expected to. He has signed a 2-year contract with an average annual value of $4.1 million. So the Winnipeg Jets, they lose Pavlik. They still have Hellebuck and what's his name, Michael Hutchinson. So they're hoping to get a bona fide starting goaltender in thingamabob in Steve Mason. Whether that happens or not, I mean, is up for debate, I guess. But the Winnipeg Jets, I think that's a step in the right direction. I don't think it's going to solve all their problems, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. Hopefully bring a bit more stability to the goaltending tandem, that is the Winnipeg Jets. Hopefully that will really figure something out for them. I'm trying to keep as up to date as possible. I'm using the NHL website as my guide for all this. So, yeah, I'll keep up to date as possible. Hopefully we will find out what is going on, and we will have some fun. The Ranger, hey Donald, you're right, mate. Oh, a Peaceful Buddha. Hey, buddy, how's it going, pal? Welcome to the stream, sir. Bonino signed with the Preds today. Oh, did he really? Okay, well, I haven't seen that come up yet. You're probably right. So, if that's the case, that's a pretty smart move by the Nashville Predators, in my opinion. Hasn't come up yet on the signed list, so we'll keep an eye out just in case he signs with anybody else, but you are probably right, and we'll have a chat about that once he actually signs. Donald, hello, sir. One of my most loyal fans. The Rangers really need to think back to their near-cup era of the 70s when they had a good centre core with John Rattel, who, when he retired, was 6th all-time scoring. Yeah, the Rangers basically need to sort out their centre depth. They need to sort out their goaltending situation, they need to sort out their forwards, and they need to sort out their defence. So, basically, they need to sort out everything. I mean, goaltending-wise, they need to sort out a replacement for Henrik Lundqvist, and I think they need to sort one out relatively soon now. I mean, Henrik Lundqvist, he's going to want to play for as long as possible, but I think we need to have a legitimate replacement by the time he's done, and of course he's not getting any younger. Defensively, we've made some good moves by getting rid of, by re-signing Brendan Smith. I think that's a very good move for the New York Rangers. I think that helps them out tremendously. And I also think that, I think the problem is that the forward, Zibanejad, isn't a first-line centre. But then again, Derek Stepan was never a first-line centre, and we managed to get to the Stanley Cup final with that setup. So, potentially, Zibanejad, I think Zibanejad, I must admit, Mika Zibanejad is a very exciting player to watch. I really enjoy watching Mika Zibanejad play hockey. He actually breathes a breath of fresh air into Rangers hockey when I watch it. Instead of the whole dump and chase bollocks that they always play, he actually is quite exciting and he moves the puck quite nicely. The only problem is sometimes he does a bit too much. He kind of suffers a little bit from Evander Kane syndrome in that sense. Sometimes he does a little bit too much and plays it a little bit too much. So I think he needs to kind of ease off a little bit sometimes. But, however, Zibanejad, he has the potential to be there. He is only 24 next year. So there's still plenty of time for him to grow into the centre that they need. Kevin Hayes, he kind of had a bit of a... He had a resurgence last year, definitely. It was either last year or the year before that he had a bit of a down year. And then, I can't remember. But Kevin Hayes, he played relatively well. Oscar Lindberg, obviously we lost to the expansion draft. It'd be nice if we could have a replacement for him. I assume we're going to have somebody in the system that can come up and replace Oscar Lindberg. Oscar Lindberg was a solid player, but he's not the sort of player that's replaced with difficulty. He's a sort of guy that there's quite a lot of his sort of caliber in the NHL, so sure, we'll just pick somebody else up to go and play for us. Not a problem. Defensively, yeah, we're looking okay. We got rid of Girardi. Kevin Kline has likely retired, so that's fine as well. So it looks like the New York Rangers defensive core is going to be completely different next year. Oh, a couple more things from the Montreal Canadiens. They have signed a 2-year contract with Peter Holland and a 2-year contract with Byron Froese. 26-year-old has 62 games of NHL experience. Well, that's not really that impressive. It's not really boasting, is it? 62 games. 26 years old and he's played 62 games for Byron. It's not that good though, is it? And Peter Holland has been signed, the 26-year-old. Split time between Arizona and Toronto last year. He has signed a contract. It's a 2-way contract for the first year and a 1-way contract for the next year. So that's pretty decent. The Rangers are a work in progress. In a few years, if they build their team properly, they could win a cup. Oh, I would love to see that, Donald, so much. I would really love to see the New York Rangers win a cup. Please, in my lifetime, can the New York Rangers win a Stanley Cup? People put a 4-year, $16.4 million deal for Bonino. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's not too bad if that is the case. That's pretty decent. $4 million for 4 years, or $4 million a year for 4 years. That's not too bad. That's kind of what you'd expect from a guy like Bonino. So that makes sense to me. Whilst it's kind of gone a bit quiet on the free agency front, especially from the NHL website, please do feel free to hit that subscribe button. It will come up on the stream. Also, you can donate to the channel if you wish as well. I probably should set that up as a way to do that properly, but if you wanted to financially support the channel, then by all means. You don't have to, of course. I completely understand, but the option is there. If you want to know more, then do let me know in the chat, and I can double check that all gets set up properly. But yeah, it's a case of it's one of those things with this that I really love doing live streams like this, but the problem is getting people here. Now, what's actually quite interesting is I have started again recently doing some Twitch streams. I used to Twitch stream every day. University kind of got in the way there, so I haven't been doing it as much recently, but I've gotten back onto it now that I've hit the summer holidays, which is brilliant. So, been doing a lot of that recently. So, that's quite fun. But I'm struggling to find... I've got 1,500 followers on there, and I'm struggling to find more of a consistent viewer base than I am on here. So, I'm quite glad that I've got this dedicated fan base. So, thank you all guys for turning up to the stream. I do appreciate it, and we'll continue to have some fun. And if you've got any questions for me, even if they're questions that I've already covered, I'm more than happy to go back to stuff, especially if you weren't here earlier. But yeah, lay your questions on me, guys. I'd love to hear it. I'm wondering who the Rangers are going to get during free agency. There's a lot of talk about them getting Ondrej Pavelec. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Ondrej Pavelec, I mean, he's not the best goaltender in the league by any stretch of the imagination. So if they could get Pavelec as a solid backup who could play 20-25 games, then we'll be alright, I think, in terms of the goaltending situation. People are scared of going there. So many guys are signed with the Rangers, then shit the bed for some reason. I think it's not a case of that. It's a case of people have signed there, and we've signed them to ridiculous contracts. Then they haven't lived up to the ridiculous contracts. And we wonder why they haven't lived up to the ridiculous contracts, because we signed them to too much money to begin with. So it's more of a case of that than them shitting the bed, I would say. But I'm very interested to see how the New York Rangers do this season. They were a team that was pretty much written out of the playoffs at the start of the year, and they were almost that way, but they made the playoffs this last season, as I expected them to. Wasn't expecting them to win a cup by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a case of once you get in there, once you get to the playoffs, it's all to play for, in fairness. Richards. Yeah. Well, I mean, Brad Richards was a very bad contract signing by Glenn Sather, and I'm glad that he's not in charge as the GM of the New York Rangers anymore, without a doubt. I mean, the only decent thing he did was get Ryan McDonough, which, I mean, that's not too bad, in fairness. But Brad Richards, awful contract that he got signed to with the New York Rangers. He did play relatively well for the New York Rangers, though, I'll give him that. The only problem is, we signed him to a ridiculous contract that gave him far too much money, and he's probably still getting paid on that contract as well, I might add. So that's not too good, especially for Rangers fans. But, you know, it's the way things go. What can you say? Michael Del Zotto has signed a 2-year contract. I agree with the shitty contracts. We did it to Rick Nash. Ridiculous contracts, kind of underperformed. I want us to use these young prospects in the future. I agree. I absolutely agree. There's a lot of talk about stuff happening. Yep, so... yes, Ron Hainsey has gone to... Ron Hainsey has gone to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think somebody mentioned that earlier. I haven't really been looking at Twitter in the hope that I can read your guys' comments. So now I have the chance to properly look at this. Oh, and my iPad has fallen over. Always very helpful, must admit. So, yeah. Rick Nash has had a ridiculous contract. I agree. I would not be surprised if he gets traded next year, because I think it's the last year of his contract next year, I believe. So, hopefully we get rid of him for a decent return. There is still oil in the tank, I must admit, but it would be nice to... I think Rick Nash has done a very good job for the Rangers. The problem is, he, once again, like Derek Stepan, he is a victim of the salary that he's being paid. He's a victim of Glenn Sather's ridiculousness, in the sense that he has played relatively well and he's taken on a slightly different role with the team now, but that's not what we're paying him for. But in terms of other news, Michael Del Zotto has signed a 2-year contract with the Vancouver Canucks. Let's see if he can restart his career once again. Ryan Miller has signed a contract with the Anaheim Ducks, as was expected. Ron Hainsey has gone to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So a lot of interesting stuff. Yep, Dan Girardi has gone to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So Dan Girardi has found a new home in the NHL. Not surprised. What's Nash's cap hit versus what he's actually paid? I am not 100% sure about that. I couldn't tell you, in all honesty. I believe his cap hit, though, is 7.5 million, I think. Oh, yes, I have just seen what you were talking about. Cowley, you mentioned this ages ago. Yep, I've just seen. LA Kings agreed to terms with Mike Camilleri on a 1-year contract, average annual value of $1 million. So Mike Camilleri, he returns to the LA Kings franchise. There you go. Not too shabby. Pictures of people getting their old Camilleri jerseys out. There you go. Why not? May as well. It's a good thing you didn't chuck it away then. There seems to be a lot of players returning to old teams that they've played for. That seems to be the trend in this year's free agency. Patrick Sharp, Brandon Saad, well, that's via trade. We've got Mike Camilleri returning. We've got Justin Williams returning. Like, there's so many players that are returning to their old teams. Also, Cam Fowler has been signed to an 8-year contract extension. Wow, that's a little bit interesting. Absolutely, he needs to go. Rick Nash needs to go. Clear up some salary cap room. If you notice, a lot of cup-winning teams have 2 big names and highly paid players like Crosby and Malkin, or Taves and Kane. Unfortunately, we don't. We can't get the big names on the Rangers. Very true. You could trade him to a low-cap team if he only actually makes $2 million. Yeah, very true. Very true. You could do that. I mean, I must admit, when I've been playing my franchise modes on NHL 17. One of the first things I do at the trade deadline in the first year or the second year is trade away Rick Nash. So that's always one of the first things I do, because he is a useful player and he can put up points, but not for that much money he can't. So very interesting. Yeah, so speaking of which, Dan Girardi on a 2-year contract. He is getting $3 million per season. And he spent 11 seasons with the New York Rangers. My goodness. He spent 11 seasons with them? Wow, he signed when he was 23. My goodness. No, 22, sorry. He had the final 3 years of his contract bought out. I'm not surprised. He leads the league in shot blocks since he joined the league in 2007, which is fair enough. However, he can't really play hockey anymore, so... Well, chances are I'm going to say that, and he's going to absolutely dominate with Tampa Bay. So, I don't know. It's a real question. There's a lot of good talent being shifted about, though, I must admit. Like, free agency is always a very exciting time, but I'm interested as to why the Rangers have been so quiet. They need another guy, and if Bonino's already gone, that's one guy that they might really want that's disappeared. So that doesn't help at all. Who else? Yeah, Gagner's gone. Yeah, Trevor Daley signed with the Detroit Red Wings. Okay, yep, not seeing much. Yep, Daly's gone to Detroit, already said that. Yeah, so if there's any other things that you guys have heard that you want me to talk about, do let me know. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. I also hope you guys are having fun. I am very much having a good time doing this. I'm kind of waiting for it all to die down, which I'm assuming will be in a little while. I really want Stahl and Klein to go. I feel like our forwards are decent, but we need to get a good few defensemen. We desperately need 2 centremen. I think we only need 1 centreman. I just think we need that third line centre. I think we can bring up somebody from our system. I think Boo Neves, or Christoval Neves, or whatever his name is, he could probably come up and play next year. I think Stahl won't go because he's got a no movement clause in his contract, I believe. Klein is supposedly retired, so I'm interested to see how much... Well, I'm interested to see if that's actually true, because there's been reports saying he has or he will, but I haven't really seen anything for sure whether he has or hasn't. Oh, I've had a comment on one of my YouTube videos. Okay, well, let's take a look at this then. Why not? So, just so you know, I'm not going to be uploading a video today because this is the this is basically the video for today. Hope you guys understand. I have though been recording some UFC 2 today, so hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. I've had a blast playing it, I must admit. It's been a good time. Berube to the Hawks. Yes, Berube has gone to the Hawks. Interestingly enough, I'm surprised as to why the Vegas Golden Knights took Berube, if you know. Because Berube was the third goaltender, or technically I think he was the second goaltender, that the Vegas Golden Knights took in the expansion draft. They took Fleury, they took Picard. They're definitely the 2 goaltenders that are going to play for Vegas next year, or I would assume that are, judging by what's happened. I think, though, the only thing is the fact that they took him. Of course, there was some sort of deal worked out that they wouldn't take a certain few people, because they got the Islanders' first round pick of the draft, all that rubbish. But why Berube if you're not going to sign him? Like, you could have just picked a guy that was contracted to play for you and not pick Berube. I just don't think... I just don't understand it, if I'm honest. Connor, Lightning Gaming. Hey, buddy, how's it going, mate? Unfortunately, 5 points has already left. He left about 5-10 minutes ago, so you're a little bit late to see 5 points. But if you wait till the stream's done, you'll... Or actually, no, you can scroll the stream back if you want to. I think it's up to 4 hours that you can rewind it. He was there from the very beginning up until... So he was there for the first hour and a half, roughly, of the stream. So feel free to go and take a listen to that. Hashtag sign Yager. Yes, a very big question on where Yager's going to sign. I am intrigued, most definitely. Donald says, the Rangers do need a good replacement for Henrik Lundqvist. Yes, they do. One of the big problems for this franchise. One of many. Henrik, as good as he is, which he is very good, I might add, he's getting old. It will soon be time to throw in the towel. I agree. I would love to see Lundqvist win a Stanley Cup as a starting goaltender for the New York Rangers before he's done. Every year that we make the playoffs and lose, it looks less and less likely, to the point where he's going to have to retire, either through injuries or because he's getting older or he just can't do it anymore, and then he's never going to have won that cup. I really want Lundqvist to win a cup, goddammit, and I really want him to win it with the Rangers. Seriously, I don't think the Rangers should take Shatty. I don't think the Rangers should take Kevin Shattenkirk either. I don't think he is a cornerstone D-man like people are saying. I completely agree. I think he's a solid D-man, but I don't think he's the person that we could really use right now. Did you not watch him in the playoffs? Power play man 3 or 4 D-man. Yeah, exactly. I imagine it would be somewhat similar to the case of signing Brian Boyle. We signed him to help us with our power play. He helped it to an extent, but he did more harm than good. You know? But that's also got to the extent with That's also got a lot to do with the fact that he was getting very old and he retired after his 2-year tenure with the Rangers. But I see too many similarities there, and too many similarities that I don't like. It's also been added that Scott Hartnell, who had his contract bought out by the Columbus Blue Jackets, has re-signed with the Nashville Predators. So he's returned to Nashville on a 1-year, $1 million contract. The 35-year-old has returned to the city where his career began when he was selected 6th overall in the 2000 NHL entry draft. So that's not too bad. Why not? Scott Hartnell. Scott Hartnell is one of those sort of guys that, I think Scott Hartnell is one of those guys that you expect not very much from, and he's quite an irritating guy to play. He has a mouth on him. He knows how to get under players' skin or skins. So Nashville, they're adding a bit more grit and more of a veteran presence to the team. He's also the sort of guy they can bury in the minors if he really doesn't produce how he should do. So I think Scott Hartnell's probably quite happy about that. I know this was at the deadline. No, fair enough. No, feel free to mention it. Connor McDavid Lightning Gaming, whatever it is. But I wish Tampa wouldn't trade Bishop away. But I'm happy for Dallas. I'm happy for Dallas as well. They've actually finally got a starting goaltender. He never wanted to leave Nashville in the first place. Well, I mean, in fairness, he re-signed with the Philadelphia Flyers, didn't he? So he never wanted to leave in the first place. But that doesn't mean that he didn't stay away for quite a while. So fair enough to Scott Hartnell. He's gone back to where his career began. Fair dues to him. Hopefully it works out for him. A low-risk, high-reward contract. 1 year, $1 million. There's a lot of 1 year, $1 million contracts circulating. We've had Camilleri, we've had Scott Hartnell, we've had slightly more for Benoit Pouliot. Like, there's lots of guys that are having these low-risk, high-reward contracts being shoved on their laps. So, that's quite interesting. That kind of seems to be the trend for this year's free agency. The question is, Kevin Shattenkirk. So, Kevin Shattenkirk was potentially offered to go up to the Tampa Bay Lightning. They were in talks with Kevin Shattenkirk over the last few days. Now that they've got Dan Girardi, I kind of feel like they're not going for Shattenkirk anymore. So they've picked up Dan Girardi, so that's another person off the table. But the New York Rangers have been incredibly quiet today in terms of who they have wanted to pick up. Of course, I do apologise to keep referencing the New York Rangers, but they are my go-to team and I do know the most about them, so it probably makes sense that I do that. Goaltender Ryan Miller has signed a 2-year contract with the Anaheim Ducks. Okay, I knew he'd signed with the Ducks, didn't realise it was a 2-year deal. Oh my god, I love Tampa. I mean, they get Dan Girardi, they can keep him. So, yeah, Mike Camilleri. Oh, here we go. There's the thing about the Ducks. So, Ryan Miller goes to there. He gets $4 million. So, is that, average annual value of $2 million. So, that's not bad. All the buyout guys sign $1 million deals mostly. Yeah, they're getting paid anyways. Exactly. So, why not? Is what I'd say. Mike Camilleri going back to the Kings where he began his career. So, a couple of guys going back to teams that they started their careers with. Ron Hainsey, he gets, wow, I mean, being a Stanley Cup winner has given him a bloody payday. 2-year, $6 million contract. He's third. Toronto, I thought we'd move past these awful contracts. Ron Hainsey is a good player. He proved his worth in the Stanley Cup playoffs to help Pittsburgh win the Cup. However, he's not worth $3 million a year for 2 years at 36 years old. He's just simply not worth that money. He's a solid guy, but he's worth more than like $2 million. Whilst $1 million doesn't make a huge difference, I mean, I assume the reason why they've signed him to that much money is because, one, they feel he's either worth that money, or because they've got lots of guys on entry-level deals at the moment. They've got a lot of guys on entry-level contracts who are then going to need their contracts renewed by the time his contract runs out. So that's potentially what could happen. Old steady guy, upgrade from Hunwig. Fair point. Just to remind you guys that if you wish to subscribe to the channel, do feel free. It will come up on the stream. It will thank you for subscribing. We've had 1 subscriber from the stream, which has been pretty awesome. I like to get as many subscribers from this stream as possible. We've kind of slowly been gaining subscribers as the months have wound on, so hoping to get a couple more from this stream. We've got about 9 people watching, which is awesome. Probably most of you already subscribers, but every single piece of help is appreciated, so please feel free if you enjoy this stream and you want to see more of my British content. It's interesting, to say the least. Leafs are a young team. They can have some vets, but really isn't worth that much. I think the future Matthews... Oh, yeah, Austin Matthews will get a huge contract when he needs it. He can't sign an extension until next year, so he's got time. He's got to prove himself next year as well. But, I mean, any guy that scores 40 goals in their rookie season, they're looking like they're off to a good start. So, yeah, Bonino has gone to the Nashville Predators. So, Nashville are stacking up on some veteran players. Obviously wanting Stanley Cup playoffs stuff. Leafs offense is insane, just ridiculous. Yeah, the Leafs offense is incredibly impressive. As I said earlier, I'm genuinely excited to see what happens with the Maple Leafs over the next few years. I've never really been a Maple Leafs fan, but the more I watch Austin Matthews, Nylander, and Marner, the more that I watch them, the more I'm becoming a fan of the Maple Leafs franchise. Not more than the New York Rangers, don't you worry, guys, but nonetheless, an interesting team to watch. An interesting team indeed. I think the Leafs need a veteran presence now because they've got the talent, they now need the veterans, and they need some good goaltending. I agree. Yep, you're very true. They have re-signed Curtis McElhinney and Garrett Sparks to new contracts for next season. So that's pretty good for them, I would say. They've got Frederik Andersen, who is now starting to look like a bona fide starting goaltender, which is what they really need. I believe Martin Hansel has signed with the Dallas Stars, as was expected. So the Dallas Stars, they've really jacked themselves up this year. I'm not going to lie. I must admit, the Dallas Stars, they've got themselves a starting goaltender, they've got themselves Mark Mathotz, they've got themselves a top 4 defenseman, and they've got themselves a second-line centre. Now, the question is, what happens to Jason Spezza? Because Jason Spezza is, in theory, in need of a new contract soon, right? Is this the last year of his contract that's coming up? Because if so, then you've got the replacement for Jason Spezza. Maybe it's a case of Spezza goes up to the top line, so it will be Spezza, Ben, and Sagan on the first line. Then Hansel kind of patches things up on the second line. The Dallas Stars are looking very exciting next season. They are, of course, my Western Conference team, but I'm very much looking forward to it. Do you think Tampa would trade Stamkos to a team that maybe needs a centre? I love Stamkos. I feel bad for him. But he gets injured way too much and Tampa is just wasting money. Well, then that's also a case of other teams might be feeling they would waste money by picking him up. So, I think it's a case of, I think with Steven Stamkos, chances are he won't get traded if he's getting injured all the time, because no team will want a guy that gets injured for 50 games in the season. Especially a guy that's earning that much money and playing that well. Like Steven Stamkos, incredibly exciting guy to watch. And I think he's one of the only sort of players in the league that's played a certain amount of games that has more points than games played, which in the NHL is an incredibly difficult thing to do. So I think that's... Oh, my stomach just went. I think that's quite interesting. I don't think he's a bust. I don't think he's a bust in any way. I still think he's got time to decide whether he's a bust or not. I think the case is he's just got to stop getting himself injured. Whether it's his fault or chance or anything like that. Steven Stamkos, you've got to stop getting injured, mate. If you want to potentially win a cup, or if you want to bring success to Tampa Bay, or to your own cabinet of trophies, you've got to stop getting injured. With Bishop, I'm seriously scared of Dallas. Man, that offense is really good. Yeah, they haven't really lost too much on the offense. They got rid of Sharp, but he'd only scored 8 goals last season for them, so that wasn't a huge loss. They lost him. There's still Alice Hemsky up for offer. If I just bring up my list of notes for this stream. So in terms of the guys available now, so Martin Hansel, I'm going to scratch him off my list, and then we'll take a look at the top players available for each position. Think of it as an update. So Sam Garnier has gone as well. Nick Bonino has gone as well. Also, Patrick Sharp has gone because he's gone back to the Blackhawks. Justin Williams has gone. If we just get rid of him off the list. And in terms of defensemen, Girardi's gone. Hainsey's gone. Olsner and Daly have gone. So a lot of guys there that have gone. So, and also goaltending. All 4 of them have gone. So Niemi, Miller, Mason and Elliott have all gone. So we get rid of all of them. Oh, and Chad Johnson has gone as well. So, in terms of players left, or top players left, in terms of centres, we have Joe Thornton, Brian Boyle, Mike Fisher and Dominic Moore, which isn't exactly a very inspiring list of players. Joe Thornton, yeah, sure, but, I mean, he's getting old. Left wingers, Chris Kunitz, Patrick Marlowe and Thomas Vanek. Once again, not a very exciting list of players. Right wingers, Alice Hemsky, Radim Verbata, Jaromir Jagr and Alexander Radulov. That's probably the best one of anything, I think. I think that's probably the best set of players out of the lot. And that's got Hemsky and Verbata in it. So, God, anything can happen, ladies and gentlemen. Defence, there's Kevin Shattenkirk still. The big guy that we don't know where he's going yet. Markov, Brian Campbell and Johnny Oduya. So some relatively decent names there, but I'm expecting Campbell and Oduya to most likely re-sign with the Blackhawks. And goaltenders, Jonathan Bernier, Andrei Pavlik and Jonas Enroth. Once again, not really that big names. So this year has been a very, very quiet year for the free agency in terms of superstar talent on this roster or on this free agency list. Like, my God, there's some really, low-level names there. Stamkos is talented, but he needs a good enforcer on his team. Yep, I completely agree. That is exactly why who went and made a trade? That's it. That's exactly why the Pittsburgh Penguins went and picked up Ryan Reeves. They need a guy that will stop people from punching Crosby or Malkin in the face and causing problems for their team. So that's exactly why Ryan Reeves was picked up. Callahan is kind of the closest thing we have to an enforcer. He's not really an enforcer, though, is he? Let's be honest. Let's be completely honest. Enforcer can't stop you from breaking a leg or blowing your knee out with no contact. Exactly, yeah. Or a blood clot. Exactly. It would help to have another enforcer, I agree. But, I think an enforcer would definitely help. But he's got to stop getting injured in non-game situations. I mean, blood clots, they're a very difficult thing to stop, without a doubt. So, we just need to see what's going on, really. What's happening? What's happening? I hate Callahan. All he really does is block shots. Well, your team signed him to a ridiculous contract, so you can keep him. The Rangers don't want him anymore. Radulov reminds me of Chucky on the ice. Guy's mental. He is. He's like a little Rottweiler. Kind of a bit like Brendan Gallagher in that regard. Comes out with blood on him every single game. That is no joke. He really does. It's quite a scary thing, I must admit. I love it, though. Radulov is the sort of guy that... He does seem the sort of guy that puts his heart and soul into whatever he's doing on the ice. I mean, his teammates and things like that's more of a different issue. Because, of course, he missed curfew and then went to go and sign in the KHL. But I think it's very interesting to see where Alexander Radulov will end up. I think if he doesn't end up with the Montreal Canadiens, then the Canadiens will forget how to score into a net by the end of this season. I think they will look at the Twine and be like, what on earth is that? What's that doing on the ice? So, It'll be very interesting to see how that works. However, I think with Stamkos, he has small veins, so he can get blood clots easily. Oh, poor guy. So he has small veins, can get blood clots easily. That sucks, though. That really does suck. Like, it is really sad to see a guy with such talent, like Steven Stamkos, having such problems. It is really disappointing, because even if you aren't a fan of the Tampa Bay Lightning, which I'm not really a fan of them, to be honest, because once again, I've just realised the Tampa Bay Lightning have once again stolen New York Rangers players. My goodness, if it's not enough to take Brian Boyle and Anton Stralman, then take Dan Girardi. Dan Girardi's probably the one that I'm the least fussed about. But, like, still, like, Tampa Bay just play the game of, let's nick all the other Rangers players, and then we'll hopefully win. Well, this year they didn't make the playoffs, so how does that work for you, Tampa Bay? Anyway, have you seen Stamkos' vertical jump? Have you seen Chris Kreider's jump out of a pool? Now that's bloody impressive. It's insane. The guy's a freak, but just breaks on the ice. Yeah, that's the problem. Breaks when it matters most. And that defines a champion from a non-champion. I've got to admit. I've got to admit, like, it's tough. It is tough. Thoughts on Ryan Miller to Anaheim? I think that makes sense. I think Ryan Miller, he's definitely going to be a backup goalie for the rest of his career, unless he has some sort of huge resurgence after somebody gets ill or injured. So Ryan Miller most definitely staying as a backup. He signs a 2-year contract to be a backup with the Anaheim Ducks. But that's what's so good about a guy like Ryan Miller. Now, he's on the wrong side of 30. He's on the good side of 40, though, at the moment, so that's good. But he's a guy that used to be a starting goaltender, but has accepted the fact that he's now got to be a backup goaltender in order to stay in the league. That's quite good in the sense that if John Gibson goes down, then Senor Ryan Miller, as the Mexicans might call him, he comes up and he can actually play, hopefully, solid starting goaltending. So he's one of those versatile guys, you know? Like, it's interesting. It's interesting to see a guy like Ryan Miller go to the Anaheim Ducks. He obviously wants to win a cup. He really wants to have that chance to win the Stanley Cup with a team. The Anaheim Ducks may not be the team to do that, but it's as good a start as any, I guess. I think this is an interesting pick. I think the Miller going to the Ducks, they've got their backup goaltender now. I mean, who was their backup goaltender before? Jonathan Bernier. Well, Jonathan Bernier is probably going to get a contract elsewhere, so that's not really a problem for them. But we'll have to see. But yeah, I quite like it. Ryan Miller is still a good goalie. Yep, he still is a pretty decent goalie. He got the shaft in Vancouver. I live in British Columbia. All he did was get bashed. That's because he didn't bring them a Stanley Cup. And you know what Canadian hockey fans are like. I'm like a 6-hour plane journey away from them, and I know that they're some dedicated motherfuckers. And I appreciate that. His home life will be better there as well. His wife is an actor from around there, I believe. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. See, I never know these things. I really should. Yeah, because, to be fair, Canucks fans are terrible. Canucks fans are terrible. He had a good season, but the Canucks are terrible, and Father Time is undefeated. Well, yeah, it will be interesting. It will be interesting to see what happens. Hey, old man Rush. Hello. How did you feel about our first round draft picks? Okay, changing it up a little bit. I like it. So, Elias Anderson and, what was his name? Thingy Chaital, or whatever his name is. Yeah. At first, I was very disappointed because of what the announcers were saying, what NHL Network was saying about these two draft picks. It was like, they're going guys that are expected to go in the first round, but probably could have gone a lot later. However, the more that I've seen about them and the more that I've read about them, the more that I completely agree with these 2 draft picks. Like, I think it's a very smart idea to have to pick up those guys. Sure, there are more talented players or more higher ceiling guys out there, but Lias Andersson, I am very excited. I think he could crack the New York Rangers roster come October. I genuinely think that he could do that. He was the 7th overall pick of the draft, thanks to the Derek Stepan trade and the Antti Ranta trade. I think he could do it. I think that Lias Andersson, he's the sort of guy that he's both of these 2 first-round picks. The New York Rangers had targeted them perfectly. They knew exactly what they wanted. They knew they wanted those 2 guys, which is exactly why they went up in the draft to try and pick these guys up, because they knew Lias Andersson would not be available by their other pick in the first round. And I think that these 2 guys are players that Chytil will probably need a little bit longer, maybe a season or 2. But I think Lias Andersson, he's the sort of guy, he doesn't score flashy goals. He's not a sniper. But he's been playing in a league with men, just like Chytil has, at 17 years old. Or 18 years old. 18-year-olds playing in leagues with men are incredibly respectable. And he put up, considering all of that, he put up pretty decent numbers. So Lias Andersson, I'm hoping he makes the team this year. I think he could be something big for them, you know? I think it could be very impressive. He's got all the tools, except flashy goal scoring, which we can save that to other players, you know? We can save that to the Michael Grabners, to the Chris Kryders, to the Matt Zuccarellos, to the Rick Nashes sometimes when he feels like it, and to the Mika Zibanejad when he decides to make a good move. But Lias Andersson, I'm hoping to see him there for a very long time in New York. I mean, at first, very disappointed, but I'm now super excited to see how they do. Oh god, I've missed a little bit of chat. I'm talking loads, wasn't I? Ryan Miller is a decent goalie, should do good in Anaheim. I agree. I think he will probably do very well in Anaheim. He will probably get maybe 25, 30 games in a season, and I think he'll be set. Bernier signed with Colorado, supposedly. There's nothing come up on the NHL stuff to support that, but you're probably right. Because Colorado supposedly haven't signed anybody yet, as have the New York Rangers, so, you know. Leafs got a steal in the draft, unless Liljegren is a bust. Well, what was it about Liljegren? Was it his skating? No, that was Velarde. There was a problem with Liljegren, and I think it was his hockey IQ or something like that. There was one, big glaring weakness, which was a problem. Oh my god, Matt Hunwick has signed a contract with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Oh lord. I didn't even realise he was a free agent. Shows how much I've been paying attention. If Toronto trades Anderson, I will dye my hair pink. I don't think they will trade Anderson. Don't think you have to worry about that. They've actually finally got a decent starting goaltender in Toronto for once. So I think they're going to hold on to him for as much as possible. Yeah, I think Anderson is a good plugger for the Rangers. Yeah, I think he is as well. I'm looking forward to see how he works. Drafts are so hard nowadays, you still never know. Yep, I completely agree. So, Matt Hunwick is now going to be getting $2.25 million for 3 years from the Pittsburgh Penguins. Wow. I think they overpaid for that, in fairness. But Matt Hunwick, he goes from the Rangers to the Maple Leafs to the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's become a bit of a frequent guy recently. Anderson is a good goalie. Lots of goalies have come and a few good and had a few good years, but collapse. Yeah. I think I'm not sure Frederik Andersen will be the one true answer for their Stanley Cup winning run goaltender issue. I don't think that's the case at all. I think he is, however, a pretty solid guy and will do relatively well. See, Hainsey is better for $500,000 more. Yeah, fair point. Martin Hansel has signed a 3-year contract with the Dallas Stars, I mentioned earlier. His average annual value doesn't say there, but it's a contract worth $14.25 million. So divide that by 3 and you have his average annual value. Evgeny Dadonov, yep, he has signed his 3-year contract with the with the Thingamabobs, the Florida Panthers. The Thingamabobs probably works better. So he returns to the NHL after spending the last 5 years in the KHL. Evgeny Dadonov is back in the NHL for the Florida Panthers, and he gets 3 years, $4 million average annual value. Anderson is a solid goalie, but not in the legendary category with Turk, Broda, and Johnny. But oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, Frederik Andersen is not going to be a legendary goalie. He's not going to be a Hall of Fame goalie by any stretch of the imagination. And I think the Toronto Maple Leafs know that. So that's all right. All they need is a solid starting goaltender that can get the job done when they need him to, and can let the forwards get the job done when they need to. So I wouldn't complain too much, if I'm honest, if I was a Toronto fan. Like, they're doing an alright job. It's all gone a little bit quiet at the moment. Anything else you guys want me to talk about? Jesus, let's go back to 1913. I love how we've got, like, vintage hockey in Donald, and then, like, modern day. It's just like, damn, let's go back to the war. No, I do love history. I do love hockey history, but I do get more wrapped up in the present day, I think. That's probably one of my problems. Bonino headed to Nashville. Indeed, he is. I didn't even just realise that. I didn't realise that, he's literally changed from the Stanley Cup winner to the Stanley Cup loser. He must have really liked what he saw in the Stanley Cup final then, if he wanted to do that. I mean, fair play to him. They're giving him $4 million a year, so I wouldn't complain. But this is interesting. It's still very interesting to see, sort of slightly changing the subject, where Kevin Shattenkirk is actually going. I wonder. I am very curious to see where he goes. Please don't go to the Rangers, or if you do, go for a decent amount of money. If he goes to the Rangers for $5.5 million or $6 million, if he goes for anything more than $6 million, I will be upset. And if he gets signed to a shitty 8-year contract worth $7.5 million, I'm going to rip my penis off. I'm not going to lie. How about old man Markov wanting $6 million a year, seeing he's not expecting to sign today? Or is he not expected to sign today, is he? Okay, well, I mean, if you're wanting $6 million a year at 38 years old, I'm not surprised that you're not going to be signed on the first day of free agency. So that makes sense to me, if I'm honest. Andrei Markov, I don't see him playing for any other team than the Montreal Canadiens. That's all I see. He's 38 years old. He's not going to get anything more than $1 million, maybe $2.5 million, maybe $3 million from any other team in the National Hockey League to play for him. He will not be a top pair guy like he is in Montreal. He will be a top 4, top 6 guy anywhere else in the league. So I do not see anything else happening with Andrei Markov. He will remain as a Montreal Canadian, without a doubt. Hunwick was drafted by Boston, I realise. Really? Wow. He's taken a trip through the original 6 teams then. Drafted by, so he was drafted by Boston. Who was he playing for when the Rangers picked him up? I can't remember. His balls are in from dragging on the ground. $6 million, come on. I know, right? Jesus, that's a lot to ask for. $6 million. Oh. By the way, guys, also, if you have enjoyed the stream and you haven't done so already, do make sure you hit that subscribe button. Will come up on the stream. Will make me a very happy young man. Also, if you want to see more streams, then do let me know in the comments, in the chat. I would do, if you guys want to see more, I would love to know that you want to see more. So, by all means, do let me know. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with this free agency. And also, if you wanted any details on how to donate to the channel, do let me know in the chat. You don't have to, of course, I completely understand, but the option is there should you want to. And, of course, if you want to, I'm not going to tell you to go away, am I? Shattenkirk was terrible in Washington. If he gets a big contract, I will inject Jack Daniels into my bloodstream. Yeah, tell me about it. George McPhee on Nikita Gusev's arrival from the KHL. That's at least a year away. Okay, that's interesting. So, Golden Knights have got a player sitting in the KHL. Chris Neal absolutely destroyed Hunwick in the first game of the year. Yeah, tell me about it. I remember, that was this year, wasn't it? That was the Austin Matthews 4-goal game, wasn't it? Hunwick is a good veteran, I like him. I think he's alright, as long as he plays third pair. I think Matt Hunwick playing on any other pair in the league is a bad idea. Now, here's the real question, especially for you Rangers fans out there. Would you rather take Matt Hunwick or Nick Holden? That's a very good question. I'm going to let you mull that one over for a minute as I go and get myself a glass of water, because all this talking making me rather parched. So one moment, guys. I am back. Hello, guys. How are we doing? Yeah, just had to go get myself a glass of water and had a quick snack as well, because, you know, fat people aren't supposed to be away from food for too long. Very bad idea. And I've just realised that it's currently 7:25 in the evening here, so 7:25, and I've got to think about something I need to do for my dinner. So I need to, I need to figure something out for that. Now, well, I'm thinking Pizza Hut. I'm actually going to check what time my local Pizza Hut closes. Because they don't do delivery, which sucks ass, but just want to see what time they close. Oh, open till 11 o'clock. Perfect. It's exactly what I wanted to hear. Good. Okay. So free agency's gone a bit quiet at the moment, by the looks of it. Not really much happening. So, in answer to my question, who would you have as a New York Rangers fan? Matt Hunwick or Nick Holden? So we have one Hunwick, we have one Holden, we have one Hunwick. Sounds like Shatty's going to the Rangers. Oh God, no! Make it stop, please. Please don't. Like, he seems like a good player and all that, but don't sign for too much. Please. Oh, got a 4-year deal. Okay, 4 years, alright. Of course, it depends how much money he's getting paid, but 4 years, that is manageable. I can take that. It's 28 at the moment, so I'd have him till he's 32. I can deal with that, provided he signs for a decent amount of money. Because he's not going to be getting 6.65. Oh, God. Oh, no. $6.65 million for 4 years. I mean, I am thinking about this really negatively, because that's a lot of money. But at the same time, we are getting ourselves a pretty solid defenseman, in fairness. He could pair really nicely with Ryan McDonough, in fairness. That's actually not too bad, because then we'd have McDonough and Shatty on the top. Then we'd have Brady Shea and Brendan Smith, who were creating some really good chemistry at the end of last season in the playoffs. And then our third pair, would be Holden and somebody. Who would go? I guess Adam Clendening could go there if we have him signed. If not, it could be Sean Day. Frank Saravalli is reporting that. Oh, interesting. What's Bob McKenzie saying? I haven't looked at that recently. Bob McKenzie basically released all of them before the thing took place. Yeah, hearing Shattenkirk is going to the New York Rangers, reporting an expected 4-year deal, average annual value of $6.65 million. Some other people, some lower signings being made, not too bad. Feels like we're in a Shattenkirk, Radulov, Marlowe, Thornton logjam right now. Those are the big four still to be signed, indeed. So I'm going to ask you a question, guys. Alexander Radulov, where do you think he's going? I think it would be stupid for the Montreal Canadiens to have him leave. I really do. I think it would be one of the stupidest things they've ever done. No, okay, that's a little bit unfair. But I think it would be a very bad idea for them to lose Radulov, who actually had a solid point production season. Fucking no, the Rangers are too quiet. Shat is coming to the Rangers. Yep. Looks like he's coming to the Rangers. I mean, we can get really upset about this. If it's a 4-year deal, that's not too bad. Honestly, that's better than signing him to 8 years at $6.65 million, you know? I think Kevin Shattenkirk going to the New York Rangers, he's much better on the power play than Dan fucking Boyle ever was, let's be honest. We'll actually have a much stronger power play, or we can hope that we'll have a much stronger power play. He'll help our 5-on-5. I mean, he's being overhyped like crazy. Don't get me wrong, I completely agree. I don't agree with all the hype. However, he is a very strong defenseman who can play top 2 minutes. So, whilst I really want a guy like that to be on... Well, whilst I'm upset with the amount of money that he's getting, if it's only for 4 years, it's not a huge problem. That can be manageable. And that's not too bad. He's roughly the same age as Ryan McDonough is, so those two are going to hopefully find some chemistry. I think it all boils down to whether him and Ryan McDonough can find chemistry. Because if they don't, there's no real point having him. It's 100% ESPN just said he signed. Well, there you go. So, Shattenkirk going to the New York Rangers. I mean, I won't complain too much. As I said, lots of money, ridiculous amount of money, in my opinion. However, we get a solid top 2 defenseman who can help on the power play and help on our 5-on-5 play. What we said the entire last year, New York Rangers fans bitched the entire last season about how awful our defense was. Our defense has just gotten a shit ton better thanks to that signing. Maybe ESPN was watching the stream. God, I wish. That would be pretty cool, wouldn't it? But yeah, I think Shattenkirk, of course, not the money that I would have wanted to have given up. I would have looked at more the $6 million price tag. But you have to, if you want a guy like that, you have to pay that money. It's much better than having to give away first round picks for God knows how long to get that guy from a different team who's been paid that much money by a different guy. We're getting this guy for free in terms of NHL world. Because we can just go, here, have this money, which we never technically see. The only person that sees it is him. So it's like, okay, there you go. Salary cap, we're still pretty much sorted. Shattenkirk was manhandled in the playoffs against Pittsburgh's third line. However, that's very true. However, he also won't be playing with the Washington Capitals next season. And he won't be playing against Pittsburgh's third line for the majority of the year. Maybe 7 games in the season he'll do that. Or they just don't put him against Pittsburgh's third line. That should hopefully solve the problem. Hoping we get Sean Day as a third pair. Sean Day's probably the guy that I'd bring up to play on that bottom pair. So, I don't see why not. Has there anybody else that's been signed? Because it's mainly Shattenkirk news at the moment, but not really hearing anything else. Well, especially the NHL website. I love the fact that the NHL website is so I'm the NHL website is so behind. I'm pretty happy. Honestly, you were right. Our D is so much better. Yeah, I mean, sure, I agree. Like, whilst it kind of sucks that we've given him that much money, our defensive core has gotten a shit ton better thanks to signing Kevin Shattenkirk. Because think about our top four now. Ryan McDonough. It used to be Dan Girardi, it's now Kevin Shattenkirk. That's a bloody upgrade regardless. Even if we were paying him $12 million, Kevin Shattenkirk, that is an upgrade from Dan Girardi. So Ryan McDonough and Kevin Shattenkirk on the first pair. Brady Shea and Brendan Smith on the second pair. Nick Holden and Sean Day on the third pair. Perfect. That's actually... Oh, no, of course it wouldn't be Sean Day. It would be Anthony D'Angelo, wouldn't it? I completely forgot about him. How did I forget about Anthony D'Angelo? So it would be McDonough, Shattenkirk, McDonough, Shattenkirk, Smith, Shea, Holden, D'Angelo. Yeah, that works quite nicely. He looked amazing at St. Louis because there were 5 other really good D-men around him. Good player, just my opinion. No, I completely agree. I completely agree with what you're saying, Cowley. Like, he isn't a perfect defenseman, without a doubt. I completely agree with what you're saying. However, what you say is he looked amazing at St. Louis because there were 5 other really good D-men around him. He's got some pretty decent D-men in New York now because the people that... Oh, I forgot about Mark Stahl as well. How am I forgetting about half the New York Rangers defensive core? Okay, so then it would be McDonough, Shattenkirk. It would be Stahl and Holden on the bottom pair, wouldn't it? Oh god, they've got to trade away Nick Holden now. Oh please. Or Mark Stahl, trade away both. Be nice if your goalie could handle the puck like it's not a hand grenade. Well, it would help so much on breakouts with some D-men with slow foot speed. Yeah, very true. I mean, apart from Holden and Stahl, Kevin Shattenkirk will be playing with some pretty solid defensemen. So, yeah. Once again, too much money in my opinion, but we're getting a solid guy. Although that has improved foot speed. Definitely. Well, we've gotten rid of Dan Girardi, so our foot speed is much better straight off the bat. I mean, I am being kind of harsh on Dan Girardi. He did play 11 seasons with the New York Rangers, and for the majority, if not almost all of that time, he was a very good player for us. So I'm being a bit unfair on him, but it's because he used to be a Ranger. You know, I'm allowed to now. He signed with Tampa Bay, for goodness sake. Like, who signs for Tampa Bay? Ex-New York Rangers players. What happens when they sign to Tampa Bay? They make the playoffs. They make the Stanley Cup final. They lose. Then they miss the playoffs. Because they've currently got Callahan. They had Brian Boyle, and Brian Boyle looks like he might be re-signing with the Tampa Bay Lightning. There's a lot of reports saying that he's very interested. So they potentially have Callahan, Boyle, Strowman, and Dan Girardi. That's 4 players that have played on the Rangers in the last, 3 years. 3 or 4, maybe 5 years. Like, come on, guys. But, it's very interesting. I'm very interested to see where Joe Thornton goes and where Patrick Marleau goes. I think they're the 2 that are intriguing me the most, because both 37 or 38 years old. I do really appreciate Joe Thornton and his dedication to Patrick Marleau. Like, when you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, that's just one of the most heartwarming things, and one of the most honourable things. He's basically said, he'd love to play with Patrick Marleau, and essentially, he didn't say this in these exact words, but he essentially said that where Marleau goes, I'm going, essentially. Or, if I can play with Marleau for any more time, then I really want to do it. So, I think that's lovely. I'd rather get Hunwick than Holden. Yeah, true. Always make a trade, it's fine. Could you imagine Radulov and Drouin on the same line? I forgot that Jonathan Drouin is with the Montreal Canadiens. Can you see that I did some planning right at the start, but I haven't really planned for this bit now. So I am just kind of making it up as I go along. So yeah, Jonathan Drouin, yeah. Big Joe, best setup man. Yeah, Big Joe, Jumbo Joe, one of the solid player. I mean, he was out for quite a while with injuries, but he still had 50 assists this last season, didn't he? That's fucking impressive, if you ask me. And what if Thornton goes back to Boston, even though I know this won't happen because Boston has Bergeron now? That could be interesting. That could be interesting. If I don't think Thornton will go back to Boston, because I mean, what's really there for him? But then again, where would he go? This is a question for you guys. Where do you think Thornton will go? Because I can't really picture him anywhere. I know he's had some conversation with the LA Kings. I know he's had a couple of chats to them to see if he will go and sign with them. But, of course, that's not a given. It's already way too slow to add Joe. Best trade of the year for Drouin. Well, I mean, Mikhail Sergachev looks like he's going to be a pretty solid player, so I think both sides win that trade. Present day, the Habs have won it. It all depends on how Sergachev grows and whether he becomes a top pair D-man, which he could well do. Jumbo Joe's still a solid player. Definitely. I can see Jumbo Joe playing till he's 40 and still putting up the sort of numbers that he is at the moment. But yeah, I really want to know where you guys think Jumbo Joe will play. Because you can't really see him in a different jersey, can you? You can't really see Joe Thornton in another jersey than the San Jose Sharks. The same with Patrick Marleau. Like, they're just two guys that have been with that franchise for long enough that it just feels weird. And less so in a case of, like, Jarome Iginla, for example. Jarome Iginla's kind of been a wanderer of the NHL for the last few years. The same with Jaromir Jagr. Like, those guys, they've been wanderers of the NHL for the last few years, so they haven't really got that situation. They haven't really got that problem, if you know what I mean. But, yeah, it's like these two guys, like, they're San Jose Sharks. That's what they are. I'm reading Toronto is interested in Joe and Mo. Yeah, I've heard Toronto are interested. I think that would be a step in the complete wrong direction. Maybe Joe Thornton, because if he's on a 1-year deal, I think that would be a really good idea to sort of help the young guys. For example, like Austin Matthews or Nylander, for example, and Marner, show them how a real playmaker plays the game. That would be good. But I don't see where Patrick Marleau winds up. I mean, Joe Thornton, I think Thornton definitely has much more scope on where he might turn up. I mean, maybe Thornton goes to Pittsburgh. Like, they've lost Bonino, so they need another centre to take that spot. Does Thornton go there and do it? Perhaps. They have a lot of old guys. So they traded all their young talent for kind of old guys. Yep. That's like the New York Rangers, except for this year. Thornton would be good for the Leafs. He's a vet and could bring a lot to the Leafs. Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. I don't think he'll go there. I think he has a lot to bring, but I don't think that could be a bit of a 2 steps forward, 1 step back, if you know what I mean. But I think it's interesting. When I say I think it's interesting, it means that I've run out of stuff to say, if you know what I mean. That's what I usually do. I'm like, it's interesting, and I'm like, I need to think of something else to say now. But yeah, he could add a lot to the Leafs. I keep wanting to say Leaves. They have Matthews who could play on the first line next season. Very true. Austin Matthews could play on the first line next season. I completely agree with that. However, they're not getting Joe Thornton. They could get Joe Thornton to play on the second line, or they could have Matthews play another season on the second line. I don't think it would really affect them that much. Matthews is what, 19? Ontario NHL players pay like 36% taxes compared to some places where it's 0. I did not know that. Interesting. But yeah, Patrick Marleau, where does he go? I don't really know where he could go. And where does Ilya Kovalchuk go? God, you can't forget about Ilya Kovalchuk. Guys, where do you think Ilya Kovalchuk's going? I don't think he'll stay with the Devils. I think he screwed the Devils over too much. And now they've got Nico. They're not really that interested in old news. Like, Kovalchuk is part of the old New Jersey Devils, you know? In 2 days you turn 13. Well, happy birthday in 2 days. In a couple of months I turn 21, so... Oh, God. I feel old now. Kovalchuk is staying in the KHL. Is he really, Jake? Oh. I thought he said that he was showing interest. He said he was showing interest in coming back to the NHL. Oh, so maybe he's stayed with the KHL. Huh. Well, I'll have a look. I'll see what the internet has to say. He's been... Ah, right, okay. So he's potentially talking about getting a contract extension with SKA St. Petersburg. Oh, interesting. It's not what I would have seen. Where is a future glass of beer, even though I can't? Why not? So, that was 2 days ago, so... Let's read what Sportsnet has to say about this. I'm genuinely quite intrigued now. Okay. The intrigue surrounding the future of Ilya Kovalchuk continues. He'll meet with his most recent employer to talk about a potential new contract. Express interest in return to the National Hockey League. Yes, he has. We have the desire to keep Ilya. Yes, we do. He's a hockey player, patriot. Is he a patriot? Oh, there you go. Yeah, he'll likely return to the KHL. Interesting. Okay, interesting. It's probably best that way he can play in the Olympics and then return. I think he wants to be in Russia anyway. Let's be honest. Like he wants to play in Russia. He wants to play for his home country. He wants to play in the Olympics. I don't blame him, if I'm honest. I mean, Kovalchuk, I think he's an absolute snake for what he did to the New Jersey. I'm a New York Rangers fan, and I'm actually sympathising and agreeing with the New Jersey Devils here, if you know what I mean. Like, I never thought I'd say it, but I do genuinely feel quite pissed off for the New Jersey Devils fan base and the organisation for what Ilya Kovalchuk did. And I mean, whilst I think that, he has actually kind of done exactly what he wanted, which was get himself signed to a completely illegal, ridiculous, high-paying contract in the NHL. Boom. Then he thinks, actually, I want to go play in Russia. So he gets all the benefits of playing for his home country whilst on an NHL salary. Like, wow. That's ridiculous. I mean, well played, Kovalchuk, but that doesn't mean you're not a snake. Yeah, Shatty signed. Yes, he did. Did discuss this slightly earlier. Don't like the amount that he signed for. I like the contract length. I think that's good. I don't like the amount that he signed for. I was hoping more 6 million. But he's overhyped as hell. But I would say he is a legitimately good top 2 defenseman, as I've said. I managed to convince... who was it? I managed to convince... I convinced somebody. Peaceful Buddha. I managed to convince Peaceful Buddha that Shattenkirk coming is a good idea. I'd rather him come to us than one of the other divisional opponents, because he's the sort of guy that could be a right pain in the arse to play against, if you know what I mean. Vibata to the Panthers. Oh, really? That's interesting, because there was a lot of reports saying he would stay with the Coyotes. I assume the Coyotes aren't really that interested. Now that's something that I'm quite intrigued with. Is it a case of the Coyotes didn't want Vibata, or Vibata didn't want the Coyotes? Because I'm thinking it's the former rather than the latter. Because they've got themselves Jalmerson, they've got themselves Stepan. They haven't really been that busy this free agency. They've got guys that can basically replace Radim Vrbata. So I would expect it to be more that the Arizona Coyotes didn't want to re-sign him. That would make more sense to me. Bemistrov to the Canucks. Yeah, Bemistrov, he's kind of been a guy that's been floating around for the last little while, I must admit. So we'll have to see. Hopefully he'll be able to get himself a full-time NHL home. Islanders need to trade for a goaltender badly. Yeah, the Islanders actually need to learn how to win, especially playoff series. They've only won one in the last however many years. Not a very good idea. Trevor Daley coming to the Detroit Red Wings? Yes, he is. I think that's a very good idea. However, I do think that's just kind of trying to put a Band-Aid on a stab wound, you know? It's kind of like the Detroit Red Wings, they are going to take a little while before they become a 25-year straight playoff team again. They're just not good enough at the moment. Trevor Daley helps, but the only reason I can see why somebody would want to sign for the Detroit Red Wings at the moment is the money. And that's nothing against Trevor Daley. That's the whole point of free agency. The players that deserve good contracts with decent money get decent contracts with good money. However, I don't see this being, for any player that signs with them, I don't see this being any other move than financial gain. And why not? But I think that's the case. Kovalchuk is a snake and a complete crook and an arsehole. You say it like it is, Donald. Fuck the system. Coyotes suck. They have sucked. This year, I think they're going to be really good. I'm calling it now. I'm calling it on the day of NHL Free Agency where they have done absolutely nothing. The Arizona Coyotes are going to be a very good team this year. I'm calling it now. Why not? So, I think they could do a very good job this year. They've actually finally got some decent pieces in their franchise. They've got a top 2 defensive pair for the first time in God knows how long. They've got themselves a questionable first-line centre, but a first-line centre nonetheless. They've got themselves a goaltender that could potentially be a starter for them. Like, things are looking up. Things are definitely looking up for the Arizona Coyotes. And they've got a shit ton of young prospects and young guys on the roster who are going to do very well. So, can't complain, really. If they do the top 4 in their division, do a face reveal. I've already done a face reveal. Go check my vlog. Go check my Q&A that I did. Max Domi will be a top 20 player in the league soon. Well, I mean, he's got to do it at some point. That's a good point. The Vegas Golden Knights. Completely forgot about them. They have been absolutely silent so far, this free agency. They haven't really gone for any of the big guys. They have, they did of course sign, what's his name? Shipakov from the KHL. He was of course the second player in franchise history after Reed Duke. So that's, well, I mean, that's a case of will his KHL game transfer over to the NHL? We don't know. We'll find out this season. I'm interested to see what happens with Valeri Nikushkin as well. Don't think they have much cap room. Really? The Vegas Golden Knights don't have much cap room? I thought they had loads of cap room. They didn't really... Well, yeah, maybe they took on a load of awful contracts. Fair point. They're going to be shit. We win games and Gallant will make them competitive. But they will suck. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm interested to see what happens. You know? Vegas already got a great goalie, so I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Like Marc-Andre Fleury. I mean, whilst he's not playing the best he's ever played, and it will be interesting to see whether he plays as well as he does with a worse defense, an awful defense, some might say. Vegas, I mean, of course, they're a new team coming into the league, but Vegas is a big question mark on next season. How well will the Vegas Golden Knights do? Some people writing them off already, some people thinking they're going to do quite well already. I think we'll have to wait to find out. We can predict it all we want, but at the end of the day, who knows? I'm in franchise mode right now and the Coyotes won the cup. Exactly! Only in a video game. It's the only way it works. Maybe it won't only be in a video game, but I'd like the Rangers to win the cup first. I've been waiting long enough. I only started following the game like 7 years ago. They got close a couple of times, which is quite nice. But, you know, it'd be nice if we could get one soon. Yeah, but not the playoffs. They went for picks. They have so many. Yep, very true. Very true. And I mean, as I said in one of my videos, I believe it was the draft results video, you can completely understand why a new franchise has gone for draft picks. Like, most definitely. Of course they went for draft picks. They could go for a load of veteran guys, which they already had with the expansion draft. That's where they got all their veteran guys. Now they've got draft picks and they're wanting to create their system, you know? Like, for a new franchise, it would be silly to do a New York Rangers and sign loads of really aging veterans to stupid, ridiculous contracts in the hope that that will help them win. They're doing the right thing and going, we're going to try and get as many draft picks as possible. We're going to amass them all together. We're going to release them into the draft. And we're going to get loads of good stuff. It's what Toronto did a year ago, and look how that turned out for them. They went from a basement-dwelling team to a Stanley Cup playoff contender in one season. Sure, Austin Matthews helps, but, like, just look at that team. Like, sure, you need Lou Lamoriello and Mike Babcock there to help, and Brendan Shanahan to sort stuff out, but you're not going to have that sort of success if you don't build it from the franchise up, as opposed from cherry-picking people and trying to stick them in at the top. Usually doesn't work like that. I mean, free agency, it helps to add those extra pieces, but you're not gonna create a Stanley Cup roster just from a free agency. It just doesn't work. And it's been proven by the New York Rangers year in, year out. Who should I pick for the 17-18 draft? I don't know. Can't remember who's there. EA is a lazy-ass company that doesn't listen to their fans and make near unplayable games. There you go, guys. You heard it here first. Yeah, I agree. Although I am looking forward to NHL 18 franchise mode. I think they're doing a lot of interesting things with it. Once again, I think that will probably be the only game mode that I play. So, why not? Also, just to take the topic away from hockey and onto American football. So I've downloaded Madden 17, and I'm thinking about doing a franchise mode in... I'm doing a franchise mode in Madden 17, and I'm thinking about doing it with the New York Jets. I'm interested to see what you guys think about it. Yeah, I'd be interested to see what your opinions are of that. Once again, I don't really know much about Madden, and of course we've got the problem that Madden 18 comes out relatively soon, I would say. Or does it come out soon? Yeah, it must come out soon, mustn't it? I don't know. But is it a case of, should I play a franchise in... should I play a franchise in Madden 17? Or just do like a... Or try and save up for 18 and then do it on that. Because I'm not really fussed about getting like a super amount of views. It's more of a case of I'm doing it because you guys wanted to see more sports. So I'm interested to see what you guys think about that sort of stuff. Because, as I said in my video a couple of days ago, you are the guys that watch the videos, so I want to make stuff that you guys want to watch. So... but yeah, so I did a lot of UFC 2 stuff today. I have made quite a funny fighter. Takes me a couple of episodes to properly get into it. I think I have done 4 episodes now of UFC. They're roughly about 20 minutes long each episode. It's through the career mode. And yeah, it's very much I figured out, let's just say, by about episode 3, I figured out how I'm going to win UFC games. And I do it really well. But that's all I'm going to say on that. Let's move on from that. That episode could probably go up in the next few days. The first episode of that. I might put that up tomorrow. Why not? I've got it all recorded. I just need to bang it together, sorted. I think you should just do it on 17. Yeah, I can do it on 17. I've already got 17 downloaded. Just a case of should I do it on 17 or should I do it on 18? You guys say 17? Sure, why not? Let's do it. Can you do MLB The Show? I do not have MLB The Show. It would probably be quite expensive, so perhaps, but chances are not. Oh, Nate Thompson has signed a 2-year contract with the Ottawa Senators. Now, he has previously played with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He had 2 points in 30 games for the Ducks last year. And so it looks like he'll be getting $1.15 million in salary cap. Maybe you ought to just for laughs be a pro series and put it under the genre of comedy. Be a pro series on what? On Madden? On what? I'm a bit confused now. Whatever, I'm not fussed. So the New York Rangers, it's still not coming up on the New York Rangers thingy. Very interesting. Sends are cheap. Well, I mean, they've picked up Nate Thompson, so they're not exactly going to be a dynasty yet, are they? Oh, right, NHL. Oh, I've already done a series in NHL, Donald, mate. I did one earlier this year with, what did I call it? Was it Alfonso Lee I did it with? Can't remember who I did it with now. But yeah, I've already done that big program. I did about 25 episodes in it as well, I think. All about half an hour long. So if you want something to watch, if you're already up to date with my content, then feel free to go back and watch all of that. But I must admit, I'm still a very small channel, and I admit that, but I do have quite a dedicated fan base, which is, I think, is much more important, because, like, I can get 50 views on every video that I do, roughly, and that's a tenth of my viewer base watching every single time, 10%. That's not too bad, in fairness. And, like, I've got one video that's still growing in views, the How to Score in NHL 17 video. Like, that's ridiculous how much I'm getting for that. And my Will NHL 18 have a story mode has jumped up. I was expecting that to get a couple of hundred views. That's on a couple of thousand views now, so if we just take a look, yeah, like 54 views on the latest video, 546 subscribers. Thank you, guys. Yeah, almost 2,500. Like, that's pretty impressive for a video that I made up in one day, you know. But yeah, so free agency has kind of gone a bit quiet now, if I'm honest. Not much is happening. I've been having issues with concussions, so I do have. So I don't. Oh, you have concussions. Oh, that sucks, man. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. Concussions aren't a good thing. But what I do appreciate is the fact that sports leagues around the world take them seriously now. Like, concussions are something that should not be messed with. Concussions are something that, as you have seen several times, can ruin careers, especially in sports. So, hope it all gets sorted out, though, Donald, mate. Hope you're all right. Here if you need me, bud. Oh yeah, Brett Connolly got signed to the Capitals, didn't he? Forgot about that. 2-year, a 2-year, $3 million contract, so $1.5 million a year. That's not too bad. I've had a few, but no ill effects. I haven't, or at least I don't think I have. No, I don't think I have, because I've never played hockey. I know. Got an ice hockey channel and never played hockey. Never. What sort of scumbag am I? I like to talk about ice hockey. That's quite fun. He played junior where I live. Was really good. Alright. Well, there you go. Ooh. So, this is fun. Yeah, like, it's literally gone so quiet now in terms of, not in terms of you guys, but in terms of what's happening, you know? Like, we've been streaming for 3 hours now. Wow, have we? Oh my god! We've been streaming for 3 hours? Fucking hell. Where has that time gone? Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, there you go. I'm not really sure how much I need to add now, because not really much is happening. So we'll have another set of questions from you guys. Anything you want to ask me about the free agency, about me, about the channel, about the stream, anything like that, do let me know, because now's the time to do it, because I ain't really got anything to talk about. Well, I know I love this channel. It gives me a good laugh. That's what I like to hear. That's the reason I do it. Well, in terms of creating this channel, the main reason I made it is to create a hub of ice hockey fans that like to talk about ice hockey. And here we are, ice hockey fans, loving to talk about ice hockey, talking about ice hockey related stuff. So I like to think I'm achieving my goal. I enjoyed it first time listening. Oh, and I appreciate the subscribe from you as well, buddy. Yeah, I'm very happy that you joined in. Yeah, the more the merrier, I think. Still a very small channel. Very low key. In terms of my expectations for this channel, they're quite low in fairness. But then again, at the same time, I do kind of dream about it more. Shit talk about I'm laughing my ass off the whole time. That's good. That's what I like to hear. Shit talking's the best bit about sports, isn't it? How about talking hopes for Be a Pro? I don't have any hopes for Be a Pro for next year because it's going to be just as awful as last year. As outlined in my Will NHL 18 Have a Story Mode video. Because they haven't announced anything to do with Be a Pro, and if they were doing a massive overhaul of it, you bet your ass that would be the first talking point that they'd have. You would expect them to have done a story mode by now, but they're not on the Frostbite engine, so we're not getting one. I assume they'll go onto the Frostbite engine for NHL 19, and that's when we have the potential to have a story mode. However, if the story modes crash and burn in Madden and FIFA next year, then we probably won't get one. So there might be a chance that we never get one. I think that Be a Pro is boring. I usually only play it for the YouTube videos. Yeah, other than that, I didn't really play it this year. In fairness, kind of once we hit New Year, didn't really play anything other than franchise mode. I just love being in charge of a hockey team, man. This is just so fun. What can I say? Yeah, I only played hockey 1 year, so it doesn't really matter. You talk well for a brick. Good luck with the channel. Talk hockey and I'll listen. Oh, thank you. No, thank you. I appreciate that, buddy. So if they get their asses going and start making it a selling point. They won't. They won't until next year. Be a Pro will be the same old thing. The problem is with Be a Pro, right? For somebody like me that is relatively decent at the NHL games, because I've played them since NHL 11, like, it's a case of I'm not the best, I never will be the best, but I'm in that sort of, like, upper category of can do very well online, can get to Division 1 and all that stuff. Well, I mean, I didn't get into Division 1 this time. I think I hit Division 2. No, I think I did get into Division 1, but I didn't win Division 1. Something like that. And competitive seasons, I can do well in that as well. Like, haven't played that in ages, though. But, I'm one of these people that's, like, in the upper tiers. I'm not a casual. I'm not a newbie. I'm, more, I wouldn't say expert, but I'm more expert than the other two. And Be a Pro is just an absolute waste of time, because you go in there. I usually play as a centre. Don't know why. I suck at goalie, I must admit. I'm absolutely awful at goalie. But that's usually because the AI is atrocious. And the goaltending controls don't actually tell you how to play goaltender, which is a bit shit. I usually play as a centre, and I usually light up the league. And then I finish, like, number 1 in scoring. And then, where do you go from there? You can win the Stanley Cup. After that, it's like, well, what do I do now? Won the Calder Cup for best rookie. Won the cup for won the award for best player. Won all the awards I could possibly win. What do I do now then? So, yeah. Who knows? I only played hockey 1 year. Yeah, I would really like to have played hockey, but Southeast England isn't exactly a very big pool of ice hockey talent. Anders Nilsson has signed a contract with the Vancouver Canucks, $2.5 million average annual value. Had an NHL career best in goals against average save percentage with the Sabres last season. I've played hockey all my life, and I find that it's time that it would be a pro game dedicated only to be a pro, where it goes away from EA. Well, dude, if you want that, you're going to have to make it yourself. In all honesty. Because I don't think anybody else is interested. Or if they are, they haven't done it yet. So, I would very much welcome one, but I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. Which is a shame. It's an absolute shame. But what can you do? Excuse me. So yeah, the free agency has gone very quiet now. Let's see the NHL summer buzz. Anything else going on there? Golden Knights looking to trade defensemen. Interesting. Didn't realise that was happening. But fair enough. Yeah, also, where will Jaromir Jagr sign? This is what I want to know. So many questions, but never any answers. God, I apologise. I'm getting really tired now. I haven't done anything all day, literally. All I've done today is watch Game of Thrones, watch All or Nothing. I would actually recommend that. If you guys haven't... what's it called? Got Amazon Instant Video, and you're an American football fan, get it so you can watch All or Nothing. It's just released its second season yesterday, and I must be halfway through it now. Bloody hell, that was quick. But yeah, I'm already halfway through it, so you should definitely you should definitely give it a watch, because last year they focused around the Arizona Cardinals. This year for this one, well no, because it was the 2015 season they focused on in the one last year, and the 2016 season they focused on in the one that's just come out, and they focused on the Los Angeles Rams. So it's very interesting. I really do like these documentary type things. It's kind of like the NHL Road to Winter Classic ones, but I'd love it if the NHL could do a full season version of that with a team. Honestly, I think it'd be awesome. It would take forever, and it could be like a 30 episode thing, or like a 40 episode thing, which probably isn't very helpful. But, you know, why not? Yeah, I'm learning programming. Oh, are you really? Oh, well, there you go. See, you're already closer than most people are. My main forte is auto mechanic work. Oh, look at you. Auto mechanic. Nice. I'm a student, so I sit on my bum and do nothing. And complain when I don't have any money. Yeah, I'm one of them. But yeah, literally all I've done today is watch All or Nothing, Game of Thrones, and played video games. That's basically been my life for the last week. Because I finished uni 2 weeks ago, and I'm very fortunate in the fact that I don't have to get a job for summer, because I live at home for university. So I'm still living with my parents and my siblings and stuff. So, or one of my siblings, the other sibling's off doing his PhD. So yeah, like I'm quite fortunate in the sense that I don't really have to. I don't have to go to work, and my parents haven't forced me to go to work, which is really nice of them, and I appreciate that tremendously. Because that means I can spend all my money in the Steam summer sales and buy myself some nice video games, which is what I have done. And I've done it very well, because I've got myself a good set of games, which some of you might have watched me play on Twitch. So yeah, I have an apprenticeship I finished a year ago. Oh, that's pretty cool. Apprenticeship. You bum. I am legit like a lazy bum. But the way that I think about it is, right, and this is just trying to make excuses probably, but after this year, Mr. Oddman Rush has to go out into the big wide world. And once he goes out into the big wide world, he won't get the chance to sit on his ass and watch loads of shit and play loads of video games for as long as he is right now. So I may as well cherish the time that I have to do it now, so then I won't be regretful next year when I'm like, oh god, I finished my degree, what on earth am I going to do with my life? I'd really love to do something within ice hockey, I must admit. I've been exploring the options. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So, the New York Rangers Twitter page has finally announced Shattenkirk joining the New York Rangers. Okay. Wow, quite a lot of people seem very happy with that. I love how most people have been quite negative about Shattenkirk joining us on this stream, but like the Twitter page, everyone like, yeah, great job. It just shows how different people are. I love it. But yeah, I am legit a bum. Like, honestly. What's your main study? I am doing... So, it's a bit different in England. You only study one subject. Well, you can study... I wish... well, there's two... What am I talking about? Come on, old man Rush. Stop being an idiot. So, when you do a degree, you primarily do... Well, you do one subject. Or you do it in one subject. You can do it in, like, combined subjects, but it is usually, like... the majority of people you find in English university is, you do a degree in this subject. Or I do it in history, or I do it in philosophy, or I do it in politics, or things like that. I do one, and you're going to think, oh, he's one of them. I do my degree in acting and creative performance. So yes, I'm training to become an actor and creative performer. So, yeah, why not? So, yep, Kevin Shattenkirk signed to the Rangers to future buyout. I think it is a good signing for them. Overpaid, I agree, but it is a good signing. At least we finally have a decent guy to go and play with Ryan McDonough. Yeah, I wish I could go back and do that, but I ain't gonna happen. Exactly. I may as well do it now while I still can. You know, and then I can think about it later. Do what you want while you're young, ladies and gentlemen. So, because you won't get the chance when you're older. So what's the time? It's 8:15. We've been streaming for... We'll go until 8:30, I think. So, well, 3:30 Eastern time. So another 15 minutes, and I'll probably call that a day. I've been an auto mechanic for a year now, and living a good middle class life. Well, there you go. There you go. It's awesome. So, how old are you, Donald? Just out of curiosity. Because it's interesting. Because the stuff that you're saying makes me think you're younger, but then your advanced knowledge of hockey history makes me think you're older. It's really confusing, I must admit. I think I just need a definite answer so I can go, right, okay, yep, that's fine. I can see that. Sorted. But yeah, so I'm an actor. 23, right, okay. So you're only 3 years older than I am. 2.5. Not too bad. Nice. Well, hello, Mr. 23-year-old from Canada. I am a 21-year-old from England who likes ice hockey. How weird is that? But yeah, I've been very much keeping up to date with the British League, the Elite Ice Hockey League, as some might call it. And yeah, our league is predominantly supplied by imports from Canada, Sweden, blah, blah, all those other places. Players that are getting towards the end of their tether in terms of playing ability. We get some good guys. We get some former NHL draft picks making their way. Sometimes we got Brian McGrattan last year. He played for the Nottingham Panthers last year, which is my EIHL team, or one of them. My granddad played in the Bruins farm system in the originals. Really? That's awesome. I did not know that. Oh, that's fucking cool. God, I wish I could have said that. But no. That is pretty cool, though. The fact that you got to play in the farm system. That's incredibly impressive, dude. That's something that not many people can say. So, hold on to that. Why not? Ooh, so that... Now I understand why you're a Bruins fan. Or why your father was a Bruins fan. Because you were originally a Rangers fan, weren't you? Oh, no, did you say your dad was a Rangers fan, then he shifted when that trade took place? I don't know, I'm talking rubbish now. Ugh. You see, it's like we're winding down, and we're pretty much done, essentially. Got another 15 minutes or so. It was a tough era, I'm very proud of that. Yeah, you should be. You should be. You should be. But yeah, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this stream. I've enjoyed doing it. Yeah. It may not sound like it, but I have had a good time, I promise, and I hope you've had a good time. In terms of when the next stream will be, I have no idea. In terms of what the next stream will be, I have no idea. It will probably, once again, be this. Probably. Well, not free agency stuff, but hockey stuff. Might be NHL 17, it might not. I don't really know. As you can tell, I don't really plan things that far ahead. Like, you should see me with my YouTube schedule. I'll sit there and go, right, I need to write a video today. Then I write the script, record it, send it out the same day. I am awful at organising my YouTube videos. Really, I am. Only when I know that I'm going to be gone for a long time am I like, right, yep, need to sort this out. Sorted, no problem, boom, done. Yay. And then it's all good. So why not? But other than that, yeah, I'm a bit disorganised with YouTube. I've still got... There's an NHL Storytime video that I still want to upload, but I haven't got around to editing it yet. And I really need to put that up, and that's been there for ages. And I've got a video that I want to do 10 problems with NHL 17 franchise mode, which I haven't gotten around to recording yet. Gah, it's just all fun and games right now, isn't it? Dad was a Rangers fan, and when he heard two favorite players and he got traded, my dad went back to the Bruins. Right, okay, I see, right, that makes sense. Okay. Fair dues, man, fair dues. Oh, so is there any last questions that people have for me? Any last things that people want to say to me? Do you want to tell me how great of a YouTuber I am and how you're so lucky you got to spend this time looking or watching this amazing stream? I mean, I can understand that. Why not? My granddad got traded to the Rangers Farm Club, and that's how my dad went to the... Oh, really? Oh! Well, there you go. God, well, now I can understand why you're a Rangers fan. Good choice. Gives me even more of a reason to be a Rangers fan. One of my most loyal subscribers, his granddad played in the Rangers farm team. I like it. So it gives me more reason. Why not? So yeah, Kevin Shattenkirk. He's got 298 points in 490 games. That's not too bad. He's from Rochdale, New York anyway, so I can understand why he wants to play there. Because he's from New York, so makes sense if you ask me. But yeah, good times. Yeah, he bounced around the minors for a long time. Yeah, he's not the first, he's not the last. Happens to the best of them. Right. Okay. Just gonna have another sip of the old H2O. So after this, I'm gonna order myself a pizza, and what will I do then? I've got the choice. More All or Nothing, more Game of Thrones, more video games. I might hold off on the video games so I can eat pizza and watch something. Ooh, this is a tough choice. Who knew a choice could be so tough? Right, so we've got T-minus 10 minutes or T-minus 9 minutes until the end of the stream. Anything else people want to ask? Yeah, it was a 6-team league. Hard to make it to the big league. Exactly. It's hard to make it when there's only 6 teams, because, I mean, if there's 20 players per team, it's only 120 players in the league. So it's hard to make it. So, chances are, if he was in today's NHL, he probably would have made it somewhere. It's a shame that, thinking about that, isn't it? But, of course, you always got to remember where you came from. If we didn't have the if we didn't have the original 6, then we wouldn't have a 31 team league that we'd have today, you know? So, it's all about putting it in perspective, isn't it? Right. Oh, messages. Lucky me. Oh, gosh. This stream has just kind of ended, really, hasn't it? It's gone real dead. It's mainly my fault, in fairness, but... Right, Kevin Shattenkirk, there you go. Yep, average annual value, $6.65 million. Yeah, I think it was higher quality hockey in those days. Not goaltending. Higher quality goaltending. Goaltending has never been better than the current NHL, I would say. The speed has never been better than the current NHL. Higher quality hockey in general, though, that's an interesting thing to think. Wow, so apparently Shattenkirk lives about 20 miles away from Madison Square Garden. He calls himself New Yorker at heart in his Twitter bio. Oh, that's cute. Yeah, so we kind of need a solid guy, and Shattenkirk looks like he might be the guy. So why not? Well, in this perspective, yeah, fair point. I see where you're coming from. Okay. Oh, full New York press release. Oh, how exciting. Let's have a look at the press release. What is it? Basically saying the same thing as before. Yep. So he's played 7 seasons. He's played alright for himself. Helped reach the playoffs in 6 of his 7 seasons, including each of the last 6 seasons. So it was basically his first. Why didn't you just say in each of the last 6 seasons then? Why 6 of 7 seasons? Or because he's played in 7 seasons? Alright, whatever. Goalies had very little padding and equipment was half the size and double the weight. Yeah, very true. But the way goalies move nowadays as well, I think, is a lot better. Shattenkirk played at Boston University. Didn't know that. Right. You know what? I think I might just finish up the stream now. It's only 5 minutes until past. And I'm pretty tired. So, I'm going to end this stream here then. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. I will be uploading a video tomorrow. I won't be uploading one today because of the stream today. I've given you about 3.5 hours of my time, so I think that's better than I think that's worth more than missing one day of a video, so you're welcome. But, yeah. Also, don't judge the original 6 goalies, but I won't, Donald. Don't worry, mate. No, the goalies in there are atrocious, especially when I'm playing against them. But, yeah, so I'm going to end this here, guys. I will see you guys soon. I have a video going up tomorrow, as I said. I'm not quite sure which one it will be yet, but you'll see. Please feel free to subscribe if you haven't done so already. I would appreciate it. It does help me out a lot. Also, feel free to check out 5 Points. He hasn't been on for a little while now, but he's a very up-and-coming YouTuber at the moment, and he's doing really well for himself. So go check him out if you get a spare moment. He does some really awesome lists videos, top 5 videos, which I myself watch quite a lot of. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you've enjoyed. I will see you around soon, but for now, goodbye!